Chapter 141. The cold frost sword's hilt was inlaid with the words "Immortal Sealing." The spirit stone seemed to be of middle grade. The words on the spirit stone were actually the activation method of the cold frost sword. When magic power and spirit energy poured into the two words, the flying sword would immediately awaken and unleash all kinds of divine abilities. Using a middle-grade magic weapon as a magic treasure for official disciples was enough to show how terrifying the immortal sealing sect's foundation was. Those second- and third-rate powers would never be able to compare. With a golden core, I can absorb all magic treasures and use the essence of the golden core to refine and fuse with magic treasures. However, I can't put any magic treasures into it. Profound yellow will fuse in the space of my right arm's spirit vein. Primordial Saint will remain in my dantian. Only the flaming cloud spirit gourd can be placed into my golden core and nourished daily. As his strength increased, he absorbed the flaming cloud spirit gourd from his dantian into his golden core space. After entering the golden core space, the flaming cloud spirit gourd gradually fused with the golden core. Under Su Fang's control, the green fiend Truefire also fused with the spirit gourd. At least in his current state, if he absorbed gold and silver into the flaming cloud spirit gourd, he could use the green fiend Truefire to refine them into gold and silver chi within a day. This was the power of the Truefire. Only imperishable realm experts are qualified to control the green fiend Truefire. I can't casually use this technique in the immortal sealing sect. Half a year passed in a flash. After this period of consolidation, Su Fang could perfectly control his golden core and the divine aperture in his mind. He could fuse magic power and spirit energy at any time to unleash all kinds of divine abilities. He had also cultivated the Daluo Heavenly Sword Chi to the second level. With Green Feather King constantly taking out Sword Chi seeds and Green Fiend Truefire seeds, cultivating these two divine abilities was as easy as pie. This Sword Chi divine abilities focus was not on the moves, but on the concept. After discussing divine abilities with Green Feather King, Su Fang learned that the true divine ability was the concept. It was easy to cultivate the moves, but it was almost impossible to grasp the concept. Those who could do it were existences who had cultivated the divine ability to great success. Now I can condense a physical defense. After a long period of cultivation, he was close to level 2 heavenly fusion. His divine aperture and golden core had already reached the normal state of the heavenly union realm. Su Fang also planned to cultivate the ability that only longevity realm experts could cultivate. Physical defense, also known as flesh fetus armor. Mortals had their skin as a protective layer for their flesh and blood. However, cultivators would not only rely on their skin to protect their flesh and blood. When cultivators reached a certain level, especially the immortal level, they would use their divine powers to condense a layer of protection similar to a barrier in their flesh and blood. Those below immortal level would not be able to form the flesh fetus armor, as they would need to control their flesh and blood, possess powerful pure yang qi, which was the source of life, and have abilities. Cultivators below the Heaven Union realm were still working hard to break through to the Golden Core realm and condense their golden core. Once they entered the Eternal Life realm, they would cultivate their fate wheel and break through to the Eternal Life realm. They would possess a shocking amount of life essence. The flesh fetus godly armor was a combination of one's life essence, abhijna, spirit power, dharma power, and the flesh of the body to form a layer of defensive armor under the skin. Once the flesh fetus armor was formed, one would be impervious to fire and would not be afraid of swords or spears. It could withstand all kinds of terrifying power. Some experts could even fight against ritual implements with their bare hand. In fact, it was because they had the flesh fetus armor in their flesh that could withstand the power of ritual implement. It was hard to imagine that the flesh fetus godly armor would be as tough as a ritual implement. With the flesh fetus godly armor, as long as one did not have a magical treasure, they would be able to withstand all kinds of attacks and reduce the damage to their fleshly body. It just so happens that I have the invincible golden body, which is fused with the quintessence of the flesh fetus godly armor. The invincible golden body divine ability can be transferred from outside the body into my flesh and blood. The reason Su Fang had to cultivate the flesh fetus godly armor at the second level of Heaven Union Realm was because he had already mastered the invincible golden body. The invincible golden body came from the gigantified diamond body and was an unimaginably powerful godly class energy art. It was also an important reason why Su Fang had been able to cultivate the flesh fetus godly armor at the Heaven Union Realm. Furthermore, he had a pure yang body and a perfect fleshly body. Other cultivators could not do it, but he could. Boom! Just as he was in the middle of forming the invincible golden body and fusing it with his blood energy and 9 yang true energy, he suddenly lost control of the power inside of him. The impurities in the flesh fetus godly armor slammed into the immortal's cave. Third level of Heaven Union Realm Su Fang was a bit surprised to see this sudden breakthrough. He had originally planned on forming the flesh fetus godly armor first, but who could have guessed that he would suddenly break through to the third level of Heaven Union? Taking advantage of the breakthrough, he attacked his gold core, meridians, and divine apertures. All in one go. Wave after wave of attacks continued. A week later, the breakthrough was over. The immortal's cave was filled with the stench of blood and gore. This breakthrough used up all of my power. Other than pure essence pills, the other spirit items are of no use to me. I need to think of a way to kill demons or find more power. Thankfully, the Rock King has a large amount of the Immortal Sealing School's essence. But that alone won't do. I need to think of a way to get more. His breakthrough was as fierce as a tiger's, and the price was all sorts of resources. Most of the reason he had reached the third level of Heaven Union Realm was because of the Megaplexus Heavenly Sword Energy Seed, the Azure Fiend True Flame Seed, and the Immortal Sealing School's essence from King Greenfeather. If it weren't for those things, he would have needed to wait a long time to reach the Heaven Union Realm. Whoosh! As he drew on the invincible golden body, his 9 yang true energy transformed into a beam of golden light that resembled the golden light of a gold core. However, the golden light of the invincible golden body was incomparably pure and holy. After all, it was a godly class energy art. Su Fang absorbed a large amount of yang qi as if it was embedded in his flesh and blood. Using the method of condensing the flesh fetus divine armor, he fused the imperishable golden body with his flesh and blood layer by layer. He also channeled the 9 yang genuine qi into this layer of golden light barrier. All of his blood energy fused with the invincible golden body, causing Su Fang's flesh and blood to become like a suit of armor. After a year of cultivation, he had finally formed a suit of armor that was as lifelike as silk. It almost looked like an embryonic garment made of golden impurities. Of course, it would take a long time before it could be perfected. That was especially true when he reached the eternal life level. 3 years, to a cultivator who had condensed a golden core, was merely 3 days. It would pass in the blink of an eye. Su Fang and Dao Wuliang left their immortal's cave at the same time. Because of their identity medallions, they looked up and saw a large group of people heading toward Yen Caifeng's floating Taoist right temple. Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, the two of them were at the back of the crowd, surrounded by eternal life experts. Only a few were in the Heaven Convergence level. Sect leader Zheng Daoxin and a few other disciples said. Then, a young woman in a violet dress flew out from the floating Taoist right temple. Everyone bowed to her. Yen Caifeng Shi was a woman who could only be found in heaven. She had a lithe figure, a slender waist, and beautiful eyebrows that resembled the moon. She also had a powerful energy that could shake the hearts and souls of anyone who saw her. In the blink of an eye, countless male disciples forgot about Yen Caifeng's beauty. The sect leader was a true expert from the House of Immortal Sealing. Clearly, his cultivation base was not in the eternal life level, nor was it in the never-dying level. In fact, he was in the never-dying level. It was impossible to tell what level Yen Saifeng's energy was at, but it was boundless and profound, and seemed to perfectly fuse with the aura of the floating mountain range. Let's go to the profound cave valley. Jing Daoxin listened to Yen Saifeng's sharp gaze. The eternal life experts around him waved their arms and followed Yen Kaifeng to the center of the House of Immortal Sealing. Everyone. After leaving the familiar training grounds, Zheng Daoxin transmitted a message to everyone. For this 100-year trial, the sect has placed a large amount of treasures below the profound cave. This is a once-in-a-century opportunity. I hope everyone can grab this chance and obtain all kinds of treasures. Everyone listened quietly. Zheng Daoxin continued, "Last time, when we went out to train, we were attacked by the devil sects and lost many of our junior and senior apprentice brothers. Now that we've obtained treasures, we'll go out with sect leaders to slay devils." Now many people understood that after obtaining treasures and increasing their strength, they still had to go out and train. After an incense stick's worth of time, they flew over 10,000 mountains and arrived at a huge whirlpool formed by clouds. Profound cave valley. Such a shocking scene shocked over half of the disciples. Around the cloud vortex, a large number of celestial sealing sect disciples flew into the mystic cave valley under the guidance of various sect masters. As they approached the mystic cave valley, Yen Kaifeng appeared and met with the sect masters of Frozen Moon Grotto. There were over 20 of them, and each of them was a big shot. Each of them had brought several hundred people with them. In the end, they formed a grand army of Ice Moon Heavenly Paradise's disciples that were participating in the trial. They began to enter the profound cave valley. During this time, the higher-ups like Jing Daoxin constantly passed on the rules of the trial to the disciples. For example, it was forbidden to kill each other, and the trial had a time limit of 3 months. Any treasures obtained would belong to them, and so on. It was forbidden to kill each other. But all the disciples knew that once they entered the profound cave valley, they would all fight to the death for treasures. The profound cave valley looked like a whirlpool of clouds. Only after entering did they realize that it was dozens of kilometers long. There were also many hidden mountain ranges around the clouds. It wasn't until a profound light mirror appeared at the center of the cloud vortex that everyone slowed down. They looked around and saw that there were 6 large camps. Each camp had thousands of people, and some even had tens of thousands of people. These were the disciples of the 7 great paradises that were participating in the 100-year trial. The majority of the disciples were in the longevity realm. A third of them were in the heavenly harmony realm. The 100-year trial was the best chance for longevity realm disciples to obtain treasures. I heard that the top 10 experts on the mortal ranking will all participate. Our Ice Moon Dao writes Qian Huanyun should also be participating. It's just that there are too many people. A disciple like her should be entering the profound cave valley with the true expert. If Qian Huanyun can obtain the treasures she wants, she should be able to advance to the undying realm and cultivate in our Dao Right's high immortal heaven. More and more disciples arrived. Some of them came alone, while others came with several people. When the 3 sons arrived at the center, an old man's solemn voice rang out. The 100-year trial, the profound cave valley has opened. Buzz. As the old man's voice reverberated through the air, the surface of the mirror suddenly shot out a sky-like profound light. It was actually an incomparably huge door. Even the mortal rankings geniuses will appear. Could it be that Zhao Wuji will also participate in the 100-year trial? The crowd began to stir. Countless disciples from the 7 heavenly paradise began to fly toward the Xian Guang's gate. Su Fang and Dao Wuliang weren't in a rush. The treasures in the profound cave valley were scattered in many dangerous or secret places. They weren't just left there for people to pick up. When he had heard that the mortal rankings experts would participate in the 100-year trial, Su Fang had wondered whether or not the Zhao Empire's ancestor, Zhao Wuji, would participate. Author's words: time really passes quickly. Today is another ordinary day. It's like eating meat every day during the new year. I'm about to get fat. Chapter 142. Let's work together this time. If we encounter any powerful immortal realm experts, we'll work together to kill them. That's right. After we snatch the treasures and the trial ends, we'll split them evenly. Many disciples from the same training grounds as Su Fang and Dao Wuliang were trying to recruit each other before entering the profound cavern. Other than Su Fang and Dao Wuliang, who were treated as minor characters, the others were either in groups of 2 or 3, or in groups of 7 or 8. It seemed that in the eyes of these disciples, Su Fang and Dao Wuliang weren't even qualified to be bystanders. They were only here to drag them down. Let's go. Of the several hundred disciples under Yan Kaifeng, a portion of them had already flown into the spirit formation gate. However, the majority of them were still waiting for the majority to leave before flying in together. You two trash, don't follow us. Don't follow us either. If you cause me to fail to obtain the treasures, I'll cripple your legs inside. As soon as they flew into the spirit formation gate, the world changed in the blink of an eye. There were no longer floating mountains and forests in front of them. Below them were countless caverns. They were like sharp blades that cut the ground into countless caverns. Each cavern was so deep that they couldn't see the bottom. At this time, many disciples were chasing Su Fang and Dao Wuliang away as if they were gods of plague. They thought the two of them were thieves that everyone was on guard against. Dao Wuliang and Su Fang didn't seem to be in a hurry. They seemed to be afraid of these people, but they actually allowed them to fly into the caverns first. Dao Wuliang had a murderous look on his face. Look at these people. Su Fang nodded. There are many treasures below. We're not in a hurry. After all, we have 3 months. This profound cavern is filled with spiritual energy. It's amazing. If we can turn this place into a training ground, we'll be able to cultivate for dozens of years and become immortal realm experts. After an incense stick's worth of time, most of the disciples entered the caverns. Su Fang and Dao Wuliang decided to split up to search for treasures. They had a higher chance of success, and they could inform each other if they encountered any treasures. After Dao Wuliang flew into a cavern, Su Fang immediately went to the surface. He saw a cavern that was so deep that he couldn't see the bottom. He then flashed in. Just as Su Fang was about to enter the crypt, he felt an unexpected aura. It seemed that there were experts fighting in the crypt, and it created a terrifying storm that rushed towards him like a burning storm. Su Fang immediately lost his balance and was pushed back by the storm. Just as Su Fang was about to use his divine ability, he suddenly bumped into something behind him. A powerful force rolled him up from behind, causing him to stop. Looking back, he didn't hit anything but a woman's defensive barrier. This woman was dressed in a purple robe, which tightly wrapped around her impressive figure. Her earlobes were inlaid with pearl earrings, and it seemed that it was this pearl earring that released a layer of scarf-like profound energy, which covered her appearance, leaving only a pair of watery and moving eyes. What a powerful woman, and she's dressed so similarly to Yan Kaifeng. Su Fang was shocked, and his heart broke out in cold sweat. If he had encountered an enemy, the enemy could have taken the opportunity to attack him, but this woman was different. Instead, she had helped him. "Qian Huanyun, you're too slow. Could it be that you've taken a fancy to this ordinary disciple?" Several figures suddenly appeared from the Xian Guang's formation in the air. Their appearances couldn't be seen, but they were like lightning that entered the Xian Guang's formation. Su Fang examined her, wanting to see through her appearance, but his cultivation base wasn't high enough. So Qian Huanyun is one of the Ice Moon Dao Right's peerless geniuses. Be careful. Qian Huanyun seemed to know that Su Fang had come from Yan Caifeng's Dao Right, which was why she had intentionally wasted time to help Su Fang. With another flash, she entered one of the Xian Guang's caves. Su Fang raised his spirit. As expected, geniuses on the human ranking had appeared. If he encountered a precious treasure, it was extremely likely he would be able to fight against these geniuses. Swoosh! Choosing a new cave, he found that the space inside was shockingly huge. It was like a canyon, and there were clouds floating below. But in truth, they weren't clouds, but abundant spiritual qi, which made this Xian cave appear even more mysterious. Whistling, after going a bit deeper, he suddenly saw some spirit herbs on the cliff walls. They were especially abundant in spiritual qi, and they were good ingredients for refining pills. When he had been with Xiao Mei, he had some understanding of spirit herbs, and these spirit herbs could be sold for a decent price. He simply emptied them all. At this time, a terrifying wind blade suddenly appeared in the spiritual qi layer below. The wind blade was an astonishing storm. It was unknown what kind of power was suppressing it, but it suddenly charged toward the cave. Looking at its momentum, it could instantly tear apart a heavenly union cultivator. Hiding behind a rock, he waited for the storm to pass before daring to come out. Sure enough, there was a corpse below. Its head and arms had been sliced apart by the wind blade. The scene was too horrible to look at. Green Feather King's figure appeared in Su Fang's mind. The Immortal Sealing Sect's Xian Cave Valley has a history. When the Immortal Sealing Sect moved their Taoist right here, they discovered that the Xian Cave is an ancient space thousands of miles deep. It seems to be the Taoist rite of an ancient expert. The Immortal Sealing Sect took all the treasures inside and created this trial space. And this storm is the result of gravity compressing the Xian Cave space. Let alone a heavenly union cultivator, even a longevity realm cultivator would be torn to shreds. So the Xian Cave Valley has such a history. He condensed his flesh embryo god armor and summoned the frigid frost sword. Stepping on it, he flew down. The deeper he went, the more precious gems he saw. There were also primordial spirit stones that had yet to be polished. Although they couldn't compare to magical treasures or energy arts, Su Fang still emptied them all into his bag. The spiritual qi mist grew thicker, and there were even more crisscrossing caverns below. He had no idea just how many caverns there were in the Xian Cave Valley. Demonic qi. He randomly chose a cavern. Just as he entered its depths, he suddenly sensed a familiar aura coming from the spirit mist in front of him. It was the aura of a demon. If there were demons here, there had to be treasures here. With the demons guarding it, the disciples could go and snatch them. This was the effect of a trial. Passing through the spirit mist, he saw two disciples who were not from Ice Moon Grotto. One was a longevity realm cultivator, and the other was a peak heavenly union cultivator. They were currently in a demon's nest, and their Xianguang was flickering. The two of them didn't first deal with the demons, but with each other. A heavenly union disciple naturally wasn't a match for a longevity realm expert. Su Fang looked carefully. One of them was from Qingqing Grotto, while the other was from Myriad Dao Grotto. Although the robes of the Immortal Sealing Sect's disciples were the same, their collars, embroidery, and accessories were very different. Take your time to fight. Su Fang took advantage of the fact that the two of them were fighting to take the initiative to drive his cold frost sword through the spirit mist above them. He immediately arrived at the demon's nest. Brat from Ice Moon Grotto, don't be so arrogant. Once I destroy this Myriad Dao Grotto disciple, I'll definitely deal with you. The longevity realm expert was furious, but he didn't want to stop Su Fang. He seemed to be hoping that Su Fang would snatch the treasure and wait for him to come out. A furry, sinister-looking black demon that was over 70 feet tall was actually an existence that had condensed a gold core. It ruthlessly stared at Su Fang. A third-stage heavenly union brat like you actually came here to take my treasure? Haha, then you'll become my food. The Immortal Sealing Sect has suppressed me for so many years, so it can be considered food for me. If you have the ability, then come and kill me. Su Fong grabbed his cold frost sword and sized up the demon's nest. He saw that there was a layer of restrictions around it, suppressing the demon here. It seemed it was guarding the treasure and not letting the disciples easily obtain it. Chi! In the blink of an eye, the black-furred demon opened its mouth and spat out some black saliva that was highly toxic. It turned into a large net of saliva and sprayed towards Su Fong. Demon, if I could use my treasure, I would have suppressed you long ago. Using the cold frost sword, a large amount of sword chi interweave. Swish! Swish! The middle-grade magic artifact, Cold Frost Sword, fused with Su Fong's powerful strength. The sword chi split apart the large net of saliva, and Su Fong entered in a single line, unstoppable. So you're actually someone who can surpass your realm. Now that I've killed a genius disciple of the immortal sealing sect, I'll die happily. The black-furred demon didn't expect Su Fong to have such strength and be able to easily dissolve its attack. It immediately charged out, and with the innate divine strength of a demon and the addition of a gold core demon, its arms smacked over with an imposing aura. Just nice, I want to test out the divine strength of a heavenly union realm expert with a perfect physical body. Su Fong actually didn't dodge. Even if it was a longevity realm expert, they wouldn't dare to casually clash head-on with a gold core big goblin. He's crazy. At least from the demon's point of view, Su Fong was a lunatic. But Su Fong's fist collided with the demon's thick palm, and a thunderous boom shook Su Fong until he felt a little dizzy. The demon bared its fangs, and its entire body burned with a shocking demon aura. It seemed that it was really angry, and even the aura of a gold core was erupting. The demon thought that it would definitely defeat Su Fong, but who knew that a heavenly union realm human would be able to contend with it in its lair with physical strength? How could it not gnash its teeth in hatred? The demon wanted to use an even more powerful strength, but Su Fong didn't give it a chance. He separated his palms, and a dragon and a snake coiled around the demon and flew it to one side. Dragon-snake coil, scram! Su Fong took advantage of the situation and struck out with a claw, grabbing the Xian Guang, which was a Dharma treasure in the depths of the lair. He then looked at the furious demon and proudly flew to the other side of the spirit fog. I made a mistake. In the space outside the spiritual object, the longevity realm expert from Qingqing Grotto Heaven was so shocked that his eyeballs almost popped out. He thought that Su Fong would stall the demon, and then he would immediately snatch the treasure. But he never expected that Su Fong would actually fight the demon head-on and defeat it in just a few moves. He even took away the treasure. This person is a disciple of Frozen Moon Grotto Heaven. No, Frozen Moon Grotto Heaven actually cultivated such a genius disciple. Are they trying to take away all the treasures in the 100-year trial? I have to tell all the senior brothers and junior brothers of Qingqing Grotto Heaven to pay attention to this person. This disciple actually recorded Su Fong's appearance and strength into the token and told all the disciples of Qingqing Grotto Heaven. The disciple of Myriad Dao Grotto Heaven, who was injured by him, also did the same. He didn't want Frozen Moon Grotto Heaven's disciple to steal the limelight of Myriad Dao Grotto Heaven, so he quickly spread the news. How could Su Fong have thought of that? After leaving, Zhang Xian found a quiet place and took out the treasure that he had obtained previously. Taking a look at it, he found that it was a middle-tier flying sword. Its quality was higher than the Frigid Frost sword, but it was unlikely to be one of the pinnacle middle-tier flying swords. But it could still be considered a treasure. If he took it out, he could exchange it for several thousand pure yuan pills. It seems that true treasures can't be obtained so easily. Perhaps they're guarded by an even more powerful big goblin, or in some other mysterious space. Putting away the flying sword, he pondered for a moment. He was still a bit disappointed. The first treasure wasn't the true treasure he had expected. He was somewhat disappointed. But this was only the first day, and he had already obtained a treasure. Who knew what kind of treasures he would obtain in 3 months? Author's words. This new month is also the new year. I hope that everyone can relax. Students can also take a break, and working friends can also rest. Chapter 143. Su Fang felt a bit lost as he passed through the dense, spiritual mist. He couldn't tell which direction he was going, and the only direction he knew was above. As for below, it was hard to tell. Countless underground spaces were connected together, and he didn't know how deep he was. After the first day, he only obtained 1 treasure. On the second day, Su Fang met many disciples from other grotto heavens. Those who could come to the space below were all longevity realm expert. Look, isn't that Fang Yu from our training ground? At this time, in a very spacious underground space, there were several bare cliffs. There were only a few thousand disciples resting on the cliff. When Su Fang arrived, most people didn't recognize him. However, there were some disciples who recognized him. He was the disciple of Yen Caifeng's training ground. Su Fang didn't greet them, so they also acted as if they didn't know him. It's only been a day, but it seems a very powerful person has appeared. Of course, so many disciples have been cultivating in seclusion for this 100-year trial. They all want to obtain treasures in the trial, or become famous in their training grounds, or advance to the undying realm. I heard 2 powerful disciples have appeared in Misty Grotto Heaven. Other than the top 10 geniuses on the mortal ranking, new people have appeared in Universe Grotto Heaven and Vulture Grotto Heaven. It's only been a day, and genius disciples have appeared. How are we going to fight for treasures? I heard a genius disciple has also appeared in Frozen Moon Grotto Heaven. It's said that he can snatch a treasure from a golden core big goblin when he's only at the 3rd stage of heaven fusion. Bullshit. We're disciples of Frozen Moon Grotto Heaven. How come we don't know about such a genius disciple? Thousands of people were discussing with each other while resting. They were mainly talking about who had appeared on the first day. When Frozen Moon Grotto Heaven's disciples heard that a genius disciple had appeared in their training ground, they were all very surprised. It seemed that such a person shouldn't have appeared. After leaving this space, Su Fang continued to fly downwards. Time waits for no one. Moreover, he wasn't like ordinary disciples who needed to find a place to recover spirit energy all the time. His body was filled with spirit energy. Even if he stayed in the profound cave for 3 months, it wouldn't run out. He didn't know how deep the spiritual mist space was. Right now, his vision was basically useless. He could only rely on his hearing. In a daze, several days had passed. Clang clang. Suddenly, Su Fang heard the sound of magical treasures crashing into each other in the space below the spiritual mist. He entered the spiritual fog out of curiosity and flew down for a while. He saw 5 immortal-level experts who came from different dojos fighting in front of a barrier. There were people who had entered the spirit formation, but once they entered, they were nowhere to be seen. However, the sounds of battle could be heard coming from the spirit formation. It seems like there's a treasure hidden in the barrier. Otherwise, why would so many immortal-level experts fight for it? His eyes suddenly lit up and sparkled. After so many days, he had finally encountered a good treasure. He slowly approached the crypt in front of him, and stared at the experts fighting outside the enchantment. Taking advantage of the large space left by them, he rode the cold frost sword into the enchantment. Frozen Moon Paradise. A heavenly union realm cultivator dares to enter and seize the treasures? They were indeed immortal-level powerhouses. Even though Su Fang was shockingly fast, he could not escape their eyes. Not only could they see his identity, but they could also roughly see his appearance. The few of them sneered and did not take Su Fang seriously. Inside the enchantment, Su Fang appeared and realized that the enchantment space was not a simple formation. Because there was only a barrier outside, there were layers of formations inside. It seems like there's more than one treasure in this formation. The treasure should be in the deepest space. Su Fang calmed down and then flew into another Xian Guang layer. Boom boom boom. As soon as he entered, 3 immortal-level experts were fighting in the formation space. Each of them controlled their magic treasures. There were also people who actually used the 7 Grotto Heavens' magical powers, such as the Daluo Heaven Sword Qi. They fought in the air above the formation. Su Fang pretended not to see it and flew around the formation. Swoosh, one of the immortal-level powerhouses, decisively rode his flying sword and flashed towards Su Fang. He thought that it was an immortal-level expert. When he attacked, a shocking grand aura swept over, bringing with it all kinds of Xian Guang sparks. It was as if he wanted to cover Su Fang in an instant. Su Fang rode the cold frost sword. He had already heard the immortal-level expert flying towards him. He could even hear the sound of hand seals clearly. Hence, he rose up on his sword and immediately swept towards the 3rd layer of the formation. When did such a powerful disciple appear in the frozen moon grotto heaven? The attack missed. Instead, it allowed Su Fang to enter the 3rd layer of space first. This was a man who was not even 30 years old. He stared in surprise at the direction that Su Fang flew towards. Then, carrying the cold frost sword, he directly chased after him. As soon as he entered the 3rd layer of space, what the man did not expect was that Su Fang was actually floating in front of him, as if waiting for him. In the end, upon closer inspection, it was not him. Instead, it was a large number of puppets that were releasing poison gas. They were currently transforming in the 3rd layer of space. Each of them had the strength of an immortal-level peak. The man came to one side and faced the large number of poison gas puppets. Kid, which master of the frozen moon grotto heaven are you a disciple of? Facing the enemy who attacked him a moment ago, Su Fang politely replied, Master Yen Kaifeng. Doesn't that mean you're from the same master as Qian Huanyun? The man was abnormally astonished. It seemed that Yen Kaifeng specially cultivated one extraordinary disciple after another. An existence like senior apprentice Sister Qian would not know about an ant-like disciple like me. Su Fang faintly smiled and stared at the puppets again. The man coldly shouted, I am Li Jingyang from the Withered Wood Grotto Heaven. Don't casually alarm these poison gas puppet. Everyone is afraid of poison gas. Even if there are many treasures in the 4th layer of space behind the puppets, once you alarm the puppets, then none of us will be able to obtain any treasures. Senior Apprentice Brotherly, are you waiting for your companions outside to come in and then deal with me or the puppets? When you have more people, will I still have a chance? In the end, Su Fang saw through Li Jingyang's thoughts with one glance. This is also for your own good. There are so many poison gas puppets. Who knows what other abilities these puppets have other than poison gas? Even an immortal level might not be confident. Li Jingyang seemed to be a little angry. With an air of arrogance, he still did not put Su Fang in his eyes. Sorry, I'll be leaving first. Su Fang actually stepped on the cold frost sword and directly flew towards the 4th layer of the formation. Whoosh! After flying a few meters, he suddenly activated some kind of formation restriction. The surrounding poison gas puppets were no longer standing or floating. They suddenly woke up and expressionlessly stared at Su Fang and Li Jingyang. When Li Jingyang saw that the puppets had awakened and were spitting poison gas, he was so angry that his eyes turned red. You lunatic, you don't know what's good for you. If there's a chance, I'll definitely teach you a good lesson. You're all immortal level experts, so you have many chances to snatch treasures. I'm a heavenly fusion realm. Grabbing the cold frost sword, he released Sword Qi. Bang bang bang! The Sword Qi struck the puppets that were flying towards them. As expected, they were not ordinary puppets. The material was very tough. When the Sword Qi collided with them, they were only forced back a few steps. Do you think these puppets are heavenly fusion realm? Since they're placed here to guard the treasures, they must have reached a very high immortal level. Li Zhengyang seemed to not want to attack and was still waiting for his companions outside to rush over. So what? Su Fang suddenly sped up his swordsmanship and aura. The sword qi was like a stormy sea as it pounced towards the puppets. He also used the cold frost sword to unleash the dragon snake roll. The shocking sword qi swept up many puppets. Although the puppets were powerful, they did not have thoughts. They were just weapons. How could they have the ability to use divine abilities like humans? After the puppets were forced back, a large amount of poison gas blocked the fourth layer of the barrier. Su Fang actually ignored the poison gas. Using his body, he brushed past the poison gas and entered the fourth layer of the barrier. Could it be that this kid is not afraid of the poison gas, so he wants to use the puppets? No, the Ice Moon Dojo only has a few powerful people. How could they let a heavenly fusion kid suddenly appear? Li Zhengyang was still hesitating. One person was afraid of fighting so many poison gas puppets, and at this moment, Su Fang had already broken through the last patch of poison gas and stepped into the fourth layer of the barrier. Squeak squeak. The moment he stepped into the barrier, a large amount of poison gas flowed into the fourth layer of the barrier along with Su Fang. It was not that Su Fang was not afraid of poison, but because he now had the flesh fetus divine armor, which could resist most of the poison gas. Together with a goo worm, he could corrode the poison gas in his body without anyone knowing. However, the poison gas was still corroding his skin and head. At this moment, Su Fang did not have time to disperse the poison gas, because in the fourth layer of the barrier in front of him, there was actually some black smoke floating. Not only that, on top of the two black smoke balls in front of him, there were two immortal-level experts. Even more coincidentally, there was also an immortal-level expert from the Ice Moon Cave. It was unknown how these two experts had arrived here, but they seemed to have fought before. At this moment, Su Fang's arrival broke their silence. The other expert from the Heaven and Earth Dojo first stared at Su Fang, then looked at the expert from the Ice Moon Cave. Cheng Jianxia, you and I have fought several rounds. It seems neither of us can do anything to the other. Why don't we each take our own treasures? Mu Jing, you and I are almost close to those people on the mortal ranking. If we continue fighting here, we really won't be able to determine the victor. The man called Cheng Jianxia had also noticed Su Fang's appearance. When he saw Su Fang, he was extremely surprised. Mu Jing from the Heaven and Earth Dojo coldly smiled. Could it be that junior brother Cheng doesn't recognize a disciple from your Ice Moon Dojo? This kid is only at Heavenly Fusion, but he can actually come to the fourth layer. He must be a new person from your Ice Moon Dojo. There are so many disciples in each dojo. How could I remember a Heavenly Fusion disciple? Cheng Jianxia ignored Su Fang even more. He didn't even treat him as a fellow disciple from the same dojo. I'll go first. There's still a lot of time. It's only been a few days. There are so many treasures. No one can obtain all the treasures by themselves. Mu Jing suddenly flew towards the depths of the fourth layer. Whoosh! Cheng Jianxia didn't show any weakness and followed. Cheng Jianxia and Mu Jing, these two seemed to be much stronger than Li Zhengyang. They were able to silently come to the fourth layer. Looking at Cheng Jianxia's aloof and cold face, Su Fang was also used to it. Even if they were disciples from the same dojo, without strength, they naturally wouldn't receive the attention of others. Even if they did have strength, most of it was fake. Su Fang also didn't hesitate. So what if there were immortal-level experts in the depths? He still bravely advanced. Whoosh! But this time, it wasn't normal. The floating smoke immediately transformed into monsters or humanoid forms. Baring their fangs and brandishing their claws, they suddenly pounced towards Su Fang. As expected, there's also poisonous gas. Su Fang had an abnormal understanding of poisonous gas, especially goo worms. When they came into contact with poisonous gas, there would be abnormalities. No wonder Mu Jing and Qing Jianxia were so cautious. Dragon Snake Tornado. With a wave of his sword, a large amount of sword chi flew out from the cold frost sword. The sword chi transformed into a dragon snake tornado. The sword chi snake and sword chi dragon merged into one, forming two sword chi storms that tore the incoming smoke into pieces. Dragon snake tornado. This was the first Dharma art that Su Fang learned. Now that it had been upgraded to a divine ability, Su Fang also planned to continue cultivating it. Moreover, this divine ability was also very useful. Chapter 144. Woo, more and more smoke appeared, but they were all entangled by the dragon snake coils. The dragon snake coils spun rapidly, forming a shocking suction force that sucked in the surrounding smoke, creating a path. Su Fang seized the opportunity and leaped over. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. After passing through layers of xianguang, he immediately saw two figures fighting. It was Mu Jing and Rider Swordsman. That kid can actually kill his way out of the smoke so easily. Rider Swordsman was surprised when he saw Su Fang flying over. Mu Jing also could not understand how a Heaven Union Realm cultivator could continuously break through and kill his way into the fourth layer. Could it be that there were no cultivators outside to stop him? Treasure! Behind the two Immortal Realm experts, there was a large amount of smoke surrounding them. It was divided into 3 layers of poisonous smoke, and there was a treasure box in each layer. Although they did not know what treasure was in the box, it was hidden so deep that even Immortal Realm experts could not take it. It must be the mid-grade flying sword from before. Brother Rider, let's see what we can do. With the appearance of a third party, Mu Jing was also worried that the treasure box in the 3rd layer of smoke would be taken by Su Fang and the other cultivators. Before Rider Swordsman, Mu Jing summoned an illusion cloud rope and shot it towards the 1st layer of poisonous smoke. Humph! Rider Swordsman followed closely. Squeak squeak. Mu Jing underestimated the smoke. When the illusion cloud rope came in contact with the smoke, it was driven away by the smoke, forcefully preventing the illusion cloud rope from entering. Rider Swordsman seemed to have known this and did not seem to be in a hurry. After Mu Jing was rejected, he flew towards the smoke. Don't even think about it. Mu Jing controlled the illusion cloud rope and sneaked an attack on Rider Swordsman. This was a fellow disciple. For treasures, for benefits, they still turned against each other mercilessly. Su Fang was completely ignored. At this moment, he immediately activated the Flesh Fetus Divine Armor and sucked the Flaming Cloud Spiritual Gourd into his left palm. He flew towards the smoke. Rider Swordsman saw this and sneered coldly, "You're courting death. Dream on. Don't even think about getting these 3 treasures from Frozen Moon Grotto." Mu Jing kept the illusion cloud rope and shot out a large number of Xian Guang whips, twisting the space. Squeak squeak. The 2 immortal level powerhouses would never have thought that Su Fang would approach the smoke signal and what would happen next. When his aura came into contact with the wolf smoke greedily devoured Su Fang's aura. As soon as he touched the wolf smoke, he grabbed it with his left hand, and the wolf smoke was sucked into his palm. In the blink of an eye, a tunnel was opened and Su Fang escaped into it. After the passageway allowed him to pass through, it immediately merged back together, and the passageway disappeared. How is this possible? Qing Jianxiao and Mu Jin's eyes almost popped out of their socket. They had never imagined that Su Fang would not die. Instead, he entered the smoke. Where did a Heavenly Union Realm cultivator get this kind of ability? Mu Jing charged forward. If we continue fighting, the treasures will be taken away by that brat. Idiot. The swordsman didn't move at all. He stared at Mu Jing and used his Xian Guang to forcefully split the smoke apart. He sneered in his heart, instead of forcefully entering the smoke space, why don't you wait for that brat to snatch the treasure and then kill him halfway? Isn't that better? I'm going to die from anger. As an Immortal Realm expert, Just as he split the smoke apart and wanted to enter, more smoke swept over. It was difficult for Mu Jing to kill his way into the smoke space within a short period of time. He was so angry that he was fuming. When he thought about how Su Fong could enter while he, an immortal realm expert, couldn't, he felt so sullen. Meanwhile, the swordsman hid in the Xian Guang, feeling pleased with himself. Naturally, he was laughing at Mu Jing's stupidity. Smoke space, the first treasure box. After much difficulty, he finally entered the first layer of the smoke space. Su Fong activated the flaming cloud spiritual gourd, but he couldn't absorb all the smoke. He used the flaming cloud spiritual gourd to control the surrounding smoke to form a space that was just big enough to accommodate him. When he approached the treasure box, he was happy to see it. It was a middle-grade perfected artifact. It was a ring. It didn't look like an attack-type artifact, but it emitted a shocking amount of magic power. He didn't care about anything else. He sucked the ring into his empty bag and carefully approached the second layer of the smoke space. Soon, he arrived in front of the second treasure box. This time, Su Fong couldn't stop smiling. It was actually 5,000 Immortal Realm peak-level pure elemental pills. To any Immortal Realm expert, these 5,000 pure elemental pills were treasures among treasures. For example, if Mu Jing and the swordsman obtained these pure elemental pills, they would have the confidence to break through to the undead realm. I'm rich. He was delighted. It was said that the Celestial Sealing sect was rich. As expected, they were willing to spend so much in the 100 Years trial. 5,000 Immortal Realm peak-level pure elemental pills were about the same value as a middle-grade perfected artifact. He hurriedly sucked the pure elemental pills into his empty bag and hurriedly flew to the third layer. He didn't know what kind of treasure would be in the third layer. When he entered the third layer, he first used the flaming cloud spiritual gourd to control the surrounding smoke. He then approached the third treasure box and looked up. There was a rune talisman in the treasure box. It was a rune that Su Fong was familiar with. It was a teleportation talisman. Why was there a teleportation talisman? He picked it up and looked at it. It was 100 times better than the rune talisman his father gave him. It seemed like it was really a treasure. He immediately asked Green Feather King. The other party said, "This is a rune talisman that can teleport you 100 miles. With it, if you can't win against any Immortal Realm expert, you can crush the rune talisman and escape 100 miles. It's equivalent to saving your life. It's much better than the rune talisman you used to teleport 10 miles. What a treasure! In the future, I won't be afraid of Immortal Realm experts. With this rune talisman, I can teleport 100 miles. Even Immortal Realm experts can't reach this speed." Treasure, it was indeed a treasure. Green Feather King didn't care about the rune talisman. "Kid, your flaming cloud spiritual gourd absorbed so much smoke. You can absorb it and spit it out. This is the magical effect of the spiritual gourd. You can use the smoke to deal with Immortal Realm experts." Yes, I can indeed release the smoke from the flaming cloud spiritual gourd." It turned out that Su Fong had inadvertently obtained another attack power. After keeping the rune talisman, he immediately controlled the smoke and gradually flew out of the third layer. As soon as he flew out, he didn't see Mu Jing and the swordsman, so he flew straight ahead. Whoosh! Suddenly, he heard the sound of wind breaking. Su Fong took the opportunity to shoot the cold frost sword. Clang! The sound of artifacts colliding came from the void to the left. It was deafening. Su Fong turned around and saw the swordsman, who seemed to have disappeared but had been hiding in the dark. Su Fong held back his anger. "Senior Brother Cheng, we are all from the same dojo. Why do we have to become enemies? Isn't it better to be friends?" Swordsman smiled. "Of course, being friends is fine. Let me analyze it for you. If you take a step back and are willing to give me 1, 2, or even all the treasures, even if you really give them to me, once I let you go, it's the same as making a mortal enemy of you. In the future, once you gain power or become stronger, you will definitely come to settle the score with me. There's no need to talk about my end. Senior brother, I'm not that kind of person. Everyone will say that, and you've said that as well. How can I still believe that you're my friend? To me, it's better to do it cleanly now. In other words, if I don't do it, in for a penny, in for a pound, I'll kill you, take your treasures, or cripple you. In the future, even if you live, you won't be able to take revenge on me and become a threat. Senior brother, you're going too far. With your cultivation level and strength, obtaining the other treasures shouldn't be a problem. Why do you have to make things difficult for me? Moreover, we are from the same dojo. Let's just laugh it off and stay on our own paths. We'll meet again in the future. This is a win-win situation. You don't have to waste your breath. Today I'll kill you and take your artifacts. This is my only choice. Die. In an instant, the swordsman attacked. He also used the Cold Frost sword, but the quality of his Cold Frost sword was better. Coupled with the fact that it was a longevity realm expert, it instantly transformed into thousands of sword auras. Swish, 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 swish. Since it couldn't be resolved, Su Fong could only attack and then escape. His first thought was to escape. After the Cold Frost sword released waves of sword auras, it could barely block the opponent. Su Fong took the opportunity to fly back. Soul-chasing sword layer. However, the longevity realm's speed completely surpassed Su Fong's. Su Fong had just flown out 3 feet when a figure appeared behind him. The swordsman grabbed with all his strength. A space of sword auras, like the big mouth of a demonic beast, bit Su Fong from behind. Whoosh, whoosh. If he was a second late, Su Fong might have been torn into pieces. However, he was a second early. He waved his left hand behind him, and a wave of smoke spewed out a second earlier. Waves of black smoke spewed out, causing the swordsman to turn pale with fright. You can actually absorb the smoke. He shouted in surprise. The smoke caused the soul-chasing sword layer, which he was about to activate, to be accidentally activated to the side. Swish, swish. The space in front of him was actually filled with sword auras. If Su Fong was really in it, he would have been cut into pieces if he wasn't wearing armor. Zzz. Because the swordsman underestimated Su Fong, he was unable to disperse the smoke in time. This time, he suffered greatly. A portion of the smoke hit his shoulder, and his flesh was immediately devoured by the smoke. Whoosh! Su Fong had already flown out of the 4th layer's space on the Cold Frost sword. Haha, Swordsman Ching, I thought you had really left. So you were hiding here. Not only did you sneak attack a disciple from the same sect, you even attacked a Heavenly Union disciple. You really have no shame. Mu Jing seemed to have heard the sounds of fighting and flew over from the other side. As soon as he saw Su Fong using the smoke and causing the swordsman Ching to suffer a great loss, he laughed from ear to ear. Haha, watch me spread this news. Swordsman Ching, I asked you to cooperate with me before, but you were unwilling. Now you're injured and lost your treasure. You deserve it. Soon, most of the Longevity Realm disciples will know of your despicable actions today. A dignified genius who wants to enter the mortal ranking actually fell at the hands of a Heavenly Union cultivator. Mu Jing very proudly activated a jade slip and really spread the news. He was a disciple of the Heaven and Earth Tao Rite, and the Heaven and Earth Tao Rite was one of the strongest Tao Rites. It was very easy to imagine that not long after, the swordsman Ching would become even more famous. It wasn't because he was a genius that he did something big, but because he had suffered a great loss at the hands of a Heavenly Union disciple. Mu Jing, I'll settle this debt with you in the future. The swordsman Ching wouldn't let off Su Fong, a disciple who had provoked and humiliated a genius like him. He sealed his rotting arms and immediately chased after him. Where is he? After flying out of the 4th layer's space, the swordsman Ching appeared in the profound cave's space. He looked all around, trying to find Su Fang's shadow. But where was Su Fang's shadow? Impossible! With his speed, he should have just flown out of the barrier. How could he suddenly disappear? His furious killing intent caused him to lose his calm. He could only clench his teeth and fly in a certain direction. In a flash, he disappeared into the spiritual fog. As expected, his speed was extremely fast. I've obtained the treasure and escape. But from today onwards, I've offended Swordsman Ching, as well as the Heaven and Earth Tao, writes Mu Jing, and the Withered Wood Tao, writes Li Jingyang. Su Fang was actually hiding in the profound cave's cliff. It was just a short 30 meters away. Su Fang's guts were too big to be so close. If it were any other Heavenly Union disciple, if they knew there was a longevity realm expert chasing after them, they would definitely run for their lives. Chapter 145. He had offended 3 people in one go, and all of them were geniuses among the longevity realm disciples. He wanted to cry, but no tears came out. For 3 treasures, he had offended so many powerful enemies. In the future, there would be danger everywhere in the immortal sealing sect. And this trial would last for 3 months. Who knew how many people Su Fang would offend at the end? After leaving the profound cave, he met a few experts from other sects on the way until he found a profound cave with dense spiritual fog. It didn't seem to have any treasures. Su Fang planned to rest for a while before looking at that ring. It seemed to be helpful in cultivating magic power, but just as he stepped into this ordinary profound cave space, his right arm suddenly moved. Su Fang immediately stopped and looked around. He felt something was wrong, because the movement in his right arm came from the treasure spirit vein. It meant that profound yellow had sensed something. It had to be known that the violet Qi law spirit from the outside world had the ability to sense treasures. Could it be that this profound cave had a treasure? Profound Yellow excitedly said, "Master, there's a treasure, a huge treasure." A huge treasure? Su Fang felt it was impossible. How could there be a huge treasure in this ordinary profound cave? Thinking about it, he still urged the violet Qi law spirit in his right arm to sense the location of the treasure. Profound Yellow's reaction became stronger and stronger, leading Su Fang into the depths of the spiritual fog. Then he approached the cliff on the right. In front of him was a cave that had been blown out by the wind. The cave wasn't big, but there were many of them. From a distance it looked like a hornet's nest. Arriving in front of him, there were caves that could accommodate adults, some that could only accommodate children, and some that could accommodate several adults at the same time. After sensing carefully, he immediately entered one of them. It was just enough for one person. Above the cave there was a pine tree. It seemed to have a very long lifespan, because it was emitting a shocking amount of spiritual qi. After entering the cave, he saw the roots of the pine tree. There were other plants growing inside the cave. Behind the roots, under Profound Yellow's guidance, he took out a round white jade. It was only a bit bigger than a grape. The jade was very round, and there was nothing extraordinary about it. There were no runes or shocking spiritual qi. Xian Huang was a little disappointed when he saw Su Fang. "Master, this jade stone contains an astonishing amount of natural spiritual energy. You can let the Pring King take a look. He should be able to see something." "That's right, there's an old antique like Green Feather King. He must know something." His mind brought the jade stone into the space of the first layer of mysterious yellow. Blue Feather King also knew that Su Fang wanted to enter, so he stopped cultivating. When he saw the jade stone in Su Fang's hand, he seemed to see some clues. He took the jade and examined it for a moment, then handed it to Su Fang. "This is a token used to unlock a seal. There are already astonishing seals inside, and it can be considered a magical treasure, especially the natural spiritual energy of the jade. I reckon there should be more than one piece here. There should be 3 to 5 pieces, and when combined together, they should be able to unlock some kind of seal. Ancient tokens like this are usually left behind in the mortal world when a powerful cultivator died or ascended to the great world. They created tokens and left them behind in the mortal world. A fated person would find the token, open the Tao, and obtain the treasure that the cultivator left behind before ascending. Seems like it really is a supreme treasure. Token just like the 7 stars chasing life sword, the treasury left behind by the Star Dual dynasty needed 3 7 stars chasing life swords to open the treasury. The round jade stone in his hand was also a similar token, a magic weapon. Unfortunately, who knew how many of these jades there were, and where they were distributed? He would store it first. Maybe he would not find other tokens in his life. Maybe one day he would be able to get other jade. Sitting cross-legged in the cave, he put away the jade stone and took out the ring he got before. It was a black ring, like it was made of black stone. After observing for a moment, he did not dare to fuse it at will. He could only ask the Green Feather King. Green Feather King quickly came to a conclusion. This is a ring that assists in magic power cultivation. It can be considered a treasure, and its quality is on the high side of the middle grade. It's not an offensive or defensive magic treasure, but a middle-grade auxiliary magic item. Auxiliary magic weapon. It seemed there were many kinds of magic weapons. Don't look down on this ring. When you urge your magic power, it can help you increase the speed of your magic power condensation. For example, condensing Daluo Heaven's Sword Chi would take 3 seconds, but with this ring's assistance, you only need 1 second, or even faster. And when your Divine Aperture's magic power is weak, it can help you condense magic power. With this ring, you won't have to worry about magic power in the future. So it's also a treasure. Alright, I'll fuse with it. In other words, it was a treasure that everyone needed and wanted. Thinking about how he would meet a longevity realm expert in the profound cave, he immediately thought of fusing with the ring. He condensed a drop of blood and fused it with the ring. The ring buzzed, and after a moment, the ring became even brighter, automatically appearing on his finger. This scene made him think of the spirit concealment ring. Unfortunately, it was already broken, and its quality was too low. Even if it was in perfect condition, he would not be able to use it now. His mind entered the ring, and a large number of restrictions appeared. Magic power surged inside. When he urged the restrictions inside, the magic power inside began to circulate, resonating with Su Fang's magic power. As expected, he could urge the magic power of his divine aperture. Profound magic ring. He also found the name of the ring. There were some runes inside, all of which contained magic power. As for the profound magic ring, it was probably because it was a support item, so its quality was not very sturdy. He estimated that a low-grade magic tool would be able to break the profound magic ring. This time, he had to properly cherish it. Even if he entered the Undying Realm or the Imperishable Realm, the profound magic ring could still be used. Urging the profound magic ring to assist in the condensation of magic power, sure enough, he could feel that the speed of the condensation of magic power was 5 times faster than normal. This meant that in the future, when he cultivated magic power, it would be 5 times faster than normal people. After cultivating for a day and taking a few pure origin pills, Su Fang felt that it was very strange. His strength seemed to have increased again. If this continued, it wouldn't be long before he could quickly advance to the 4th stage of Heaven Fusion Realm in the Celestial Sealing Sect. After recuperating and honing his strength, Su Fang flew out of the profound cave. He once again advanced into the depths of the profound cave, passing through several profound cave spaces, dodging the profound cave storms that appeared from time to time. Damned monster, its strength is actually close to the peak of the longevity realm. A man's helpless sigh came from the spiritual mist in front of him. It seemed that there was another treasure, but it was difficult to obtain. Monster. Normal people would be afraid, But Su Fang just happened to be the nemesis of monsters. After a short moment, Su Fang saw more than 10 longevity realms from different dojos, as well as a few disciples whose cultivation had reached the peak of Heaven Fusion Realm. They were currently pacing back and forth outside a profound cave that was exploding with demonic aura. "It's a disciple of my Ice Moon Dojo, too bad it's a Heaven Fusion Realm cultivator." Among them, there was a Longevity Realm male who also came from Ice Moon Dojo, but he shouldn't be controlled by Yen Kaifeng. Because Su Fang also saw him, but he didn't have the slightest impression of him. The other disciples also shot a few glances, no longer paying attention to Su Fang, treating him as a passerby watching the excitement. With his cultivation, he could only be a bystander. Someone asked curiously, "A few of the more powerful senior brothers went in, I wonder if they obtained any treasures." And Su Fang came to the front of the profound cave, feeling the demonic aura. He discovered that it was indeed a very powerful monster. Its strength even surpassed Dao Wuliang. Most likely it had already condensed a gold core for a very long time. For this kind of monster, a Heaven Fusion Realm was no match at all, unless it was a powerful Longevity Realm powerhouse. Su Fang was not afraid of the demonic aura. In the instant when many people were not paying attention, with a huff, he directly flew into the demonic aura space. "That kid is courting death." Someone snorted and laughed. Entering the demonic aura space, he immediately heard the sounds of fighting. After entering a few hundred meters into the demonic aura space, above a layer of barrier, there was a treasure chest floating. A monster with black and red body armor, like a big kangaroo. Its fangs were 3 feet long, and so were its claws. Its speed was astonishing, and it was preventing the 3 powerhouses from approaching the treasure chest. The monster's speed was somewhat like a frog's jump, or it could jump horizontally. The speed of each jump was clearly faster than the 3 Longevity Realm disciples. Looking at the cultivation of these 3 powerhouses, they were between Longevity Realm level 5 to level 7, and were also considered powerhouses. Although they couldn't be compared to geniuses like Mu Jing and Qing Jianxia, they were also powerful figures. Su Fang grabbed the cold frost sword, circled around from the side, and flew into the barrier. He knew that the monster's advantage was speed, and was ready to spit out smoke at any time. Human. When he was still 100 feet away from the treasure chest, the monster found Su Fang. With a few cracking sounds, it shattered the attacks of the 3 powerhouses. Suddenly, it jumped like a shadow directly in front of Su Fang. Its claws were only a foot away from Su Fang. Chi-chi. At the critical moment, the smoke was combined with the dragon snake roll. At the same time that Su Fang retreated, it was activated and turned into a poisonous dragon snake roll, entangling the monster's chest. The poisonous gas shook the monster until it hurriedly retreated, and a large piece of its fur was corroded. "That kid is only at Heavenly Fusion Realm. Why is he so powerful?" The 3 powerhouses at the side finally stabilized their bodies, but when they saw that Su Fang was actually able to release smoke to fight against the monster, who wouldn't be surprised? The 3 powerhouses pounced on the treasure chest again. Everyone wanted to get the treasure. One of them said, "Inside this treasure chest is the 3rd level of the Heavenly Dragon Divine Claw, one of the 7 divine powers. If you get it, you can peek at the 3rd level first." Unfortunately, the 3 of them were directly sent flying by the monster that jumped over. So it's a cultivation technique. Divine powers aren't very useful to me. Suddenly, Su Fang wanted to give up on fighting for the treasure. With the smoke protecting him, even the monster was a bit afraid of him. His eyes turned, and when he saw the 3 powerhouses fighting, he suddenly shouted, "I don't want to cultivate the Heavenly Dragon Divine Claw. If any of you are willing to exchange pure origin pills, I'll take the cultivation technique and give it to you." One of the men from the Vulture Grotto Heaven was the first to respond, "I'm willing." 1,000 Heavenly Fusion Pure Origin Pills. I'll pay 3,000. Another disciple from the Ethereal Dojo also competed to bid. 1,000, 3,000? How stingy. I'll pay 1,000 Immortality Pure Origin Pills. The other was an expert from the Heaven and Earth Dojo. He was from the same dojo as Mu Jing, so they should know each other. Deal. Su Fong activated a large amount of smoke, turning it into a protective poison gas defense, and immediately pounced on the treasure chest. That monster couldn't wait to eat Su Fong. Just as it was about to stop him, it was entangled by the expert from the Heaven and Earth Dojo. The other two powerhouses wanted to stop Su Fong. However, the monster was also unwilling to give up. It entangled one expert after another. In fact, it didn't want to stop Su Fong, because he had the smoke protecting him. Even the monster didn't want to provoke him. The illusion cloud rope flew out and wrapped around the treasure chest. After Su Fong caught it, he saw that it was indeed a silver scroll. It should be the Heavenly Dragon Divine Claw cultivation technique. Give me the Pure Origin Pills first. Su Fong continued to release the smoke and then shouted at the man from the Heaven and Earth Dojo. Whoosh! The other party was also very direct. He threw an empty bag and then tried to fly towards Su Fong. At the same time, he stopped the other two powerhouses from snatching the cultivation technique. After Su Fong checked it, he immediately flicked the silver scroll towards the man. He immediately turned and flew out of the barrier. Chapter 146. You're really willing to part with 1,000. In the profound cave, the three Immortal Realm experts had no intention of staying any longer, because that demon was stamping with rage. After leaving this layer of space, the other two experts eyed the Qiankuan Dojo expert covetously, but even if they made a move now, it would be hard for them to snatch the technique. With this level of mental cultivation, it can help me advance to the Undying Realm in advance. Isn't it better? The sex rules are too strict. No disciple can privately pass on the 7 great divine abilities. The man was also somewhat reluctant. After all, it was 1,000 pure origin pills. His heart was bleeding. That person is a Frost Moon Dojo disciple. I forgot to ask his name. Lingren sighed. A Heaven Union Stage 3 disciple can actually control the smoke signal as he wishes. I suddenly remembered that someone mentioned before that there was a Frost Moon Dojo disciple who was also Heaven Union Stage, but his ability was shocking, causing many experts to suffer. For example, Frost Moon Dojo's Sword Rider, I heard that he wanted to snatch that disciple's treasure, but was instead injured by the other party. Now that you mention it, I've also heard of this before, but I thought it was nonsense. Could it be that brat just now? Seems like there's an 80% chance that it's this brat. I can't see that he's a character. Since he caused those experts to suffer, he must have obtained many treasures. The 3 experts discussed for a while, then their eyes suddenly flickered with a few rays of coldness. Following that, they cupped their fists one by one and flew off in different directions. 1,000 Immortal Realm Pure Origin Pills. This would give Su Fong an additional power when he advanced to the Immortal Realm. Who would have thought that the 3rd level of the Heavenly Dragon Divine Claw technique would be so valuable? In other words, even if an Immortal Realm expert wanted to cultivate the Heavenly Dragon Divine Claw, it would also not be easy. At most, they could cultivate the 2nd level, so they needed the 3rd level. According to the rules, one would have to reach the next level of cultivation or complete the level of cultivation to obtain the next level of cultivation. However, these immortal level powerhouses wanted to master more powerful divine abilities, and they would try their best to obtain the next level of cultivation. Passing through layers of spirit fog, they entered an even deeper layer of the profound cave. At this moment, he saw a large space with a few hundred people sitting cross-legged and resting. Disciples of the 7 major dojos could be seen everywhere. Among the people who came here, there were very few Heaven Union disciples. Most of them were longevity realms. Su Fang slowed down. Seeing that so many experts were resting, he wanted to fly down. In the end, he saw that there were many profound caverns below. From time to time, wind blades would shoot out. No wonder so many experts were resting. They had no choice but to enter the depths of the profound caverns in their strongest state. Su Fang came to a rock and sat down cross-legged. He looked around and saw the disciples of the Ice Moon Dojo. They still did not take him seriously. Recently, there's a Heavenly Union disciple from the Ice Moon Dojo. He's very impressive, causing many immortal-level experts to suffer. It's just a rumor. How can there be such a powerful Heaven Union Realm disciple? The sect has held countless 100 years of trials, and only a few times have this kind of character appeared. In any case, if we encounter any Heaven Union Realm disciples from Ice Moon Dojo in the future, we must be on our guard. During this time, some people were chatting. They did not know that the legendary figure was sitting among them. I just heard that Heavenly Union Realm disciple from the Ice Moon Dojo obtained quite a few treasures. They're all precious treasures. Many people are looking for him. If he's in the limelight, the hunter will shoot the bird that sticks out. It'd be great if we encountered him. Killing a Heaven Union Realm disciple would allow us to exchange for a large amount of treasures. Would we still need to risk our lives in the dangerous profound caverns to fight for treasures? There were actually people openly discussing how to find Su Fang and kill him to steal his treasures. Su Fang originally did not care about this, but when he heard this, his heart skipped a beat. He cursed in his heart who was so immoral. They actually said he had precious treasures on him. Wouldn't that make him the public enemy of all the disciples in the profound caverns? Fortunately, these people don't know what I look like. If they did, I probably wouldn't have anywhere to run. He still had a kind of shivering feeling. It was as if everyone was staring at him from behind, as if a hand of darkness was reaching out to him. Fortunately, there were quite a few Heavenly Union Realm disciples from the Ice Moon Dojo participating in this trial. If there were only a few, everyone would definitely suspect him. Next, if it's not a special treasure, I can't casually attack. After resting for half a day, a few people were heading downwards. Su Fang took advantage of the chaos and followed them. Something's wrong. Dodging a few wind blades from below the profound caverns, Su Fang heard the sound of something breaking through the air behind him. He deliberately increased his speed. That sound also became faster and faster. Furthermore, the distance was very close. Su Fang instantly turned around and saw a Longevity Realm man. It turned out to be a Longevity Realm disciple from the Myriad Dao Grotto. His cultivation was at the 3rd level of the Longevity Realm. He was not very strong. Clearly, the other party suspected that he was a Heaven Union Realm disciple from the Ice Moon Dojo who had precious treasures on him. Whoosh whoosh, he instantly increased his speed and flew through the spirit fog world on the frost sword. That person also chased after him. Su Fang's speed became faster and faster. Especially when he heard wind blades appear, he used natural wind blades to sweep past, using that to avoid that expert. This move was indeed effective. In just a moment, Su Fang had shaken off that person. Fortunately, it wasn't a Longevity Realm expert. And, with such a deep profound caverns, there should be treasures hidden in many places or sealed by barriers. Only now did he pay attention to his surroundings. Other than the spirit fog, there were all kinds of underground rocks and steep cliff. Releasing his hearing, Su Fang slowed down his speed. After entering a profound caverns, he had to listen for any movement. He had to sense if there was any demonic aura or let Xian Huang sense the aura of any special treasures. Master, there's the aura of a special treasure. It's right in front of us. There's still some distance left. Xian Huang suddenly said in pleasant surprise. Su Fang increased his speed and entered another profound caverns. Sure enough, he saw a barrier. This barrier was very extraordinary. It enveloped the entire profound caverns. With such a large barrier, the inside must be extraordinary. And the aura of a special treasure was coming from inside. It seemed that there was a special treasure inside. Should he go in? Su Fang was sure that his luck wouldn't be good. He was the first person to enter this barrier. Perhaps there were experts fighting for treasures inside. And to be able to come here, they must be people like Sword Rider or even more powerful people. His scalp hardened. Since he was already here, he couldn't be a coward here. He immediately stepped into the barrier. Layers of clouds appeared in front of him. The clouds were slowly curling about. Some of them were surging in different directions. It was a bit strange. Furthermore, there were different wind sounds coming from inside. It seemed to be a bamboo forest. But how could there be a bamboo forest in an underground space like the profound caverns? If there was one, it meant this place was even more extraordinary. Su Fang listened to the sound of the wind and watched the clouds churn. Sometimes it was as if he had merged with this world. He could not sense any threatening aura. The wind was like a mirage, and he also saw mountain shadows. He really couldn't tell what kind of existence this profound caverns was. After a while, Su Fang continued to slowly fly forward. But he didn't see any treasures or monsters. He didn't see a single disciple of the celestial sealing sect. But suddenly, some purple chi appeared in front of him. It seemed a bit familiar. Focusing his gaze, he saw a mountain within the purple chi. It was a purple chi mountain just like the one behind Tianzong City. After a moment of bewilderment, he carefully looked again. Suddenly, a figure appeared in front of two tombs. Su Fang was also very familiar with the tombs. They seemed to be the tombs of his mother and grandfather. Could it be father? Su Fang increased his speed and approached that figure. That figure also turned around. It was Su Yaotian. He waved his hand at Su Fang and muttered, "Child, father has let down your family. Your mother, your grandfather, and you." "Father." Su Fang excitedly stepped forward and entered the purple chi world. Su Yaotian took a few steps back. "After something happened to your father, the first thing I did was rush back to the family. But when I learned that your mother had passed away because of me, the entire family was still brooding over the fact that I had taken away the falling moon blade, so I didn't acknowledge you. But I stayed in front of your mother's grave for an entire year. Those were the happiest days of my life, but I still hate myself. If it weren't for me, how could your mother have passed away? I've caused you to be weak and sickly since you were young, and I've also caused my old father to wash my face with tears every day. I've also been criticized by my family members. I'm not a good father, nor am I a good son. I'm not a good father. I'm not a good father." Su Fang was heartbroken. It was like he could see Su Yaotian's disfigured face behind the mask. Just how much had he suffered? "Father, this isn't your fault. If you want to blame someone, blame Zhao. If you want to blame someone, blame the heavens. It has nothing to do with you. Father, you should let go of everything and start anew." "How could it have nothing to do with me? Child, come here. I could only look at you from afar and miss you." Su Fang opened his arms, wanting to pull Su Fang into his embrace. "Ha ha." He had only just taken a step when a fierce roar rang out in his head. It was like some kind of energy had viciously slammed into his head. Then he watched as Su Yaotian left. The purple chi world vanished, and the only thing in front of him was the Xian Guang. There were no images, but there were still some strange clouds and wind. Just now Su Fang looked at himself suspiciously. It was like he had just had a dream. The dream was very real. It was like he had really been born. "You entered an illusion, and your soul was controlled by this formation," said the Green Feather King. "An illusion." He looked around. He had entered an illusion formation. This was an existence that everyone feared. Once you fell into it, you would never be able to leave. You would be lost inside, waiting for death. Terrifying. Just the illusion formation wouldn't be able to deal with you. Your Tao heart is also very strong. But this formation is created from a true treasure. The formation is fused with the treasure. Once you step in here, it's like you've entered a world in your head. Your memories will be overturned, and you won't be able to extricate yourself, explained the Green Feather King. And within this formation there should be a true treasure. Not only is it high grade, but it's also a strange treasure that can bewitch the soul and control a person's mind. High-grade enchanted item then, wasn't it right under the Xian Wang Six Paths Pagoda? A true treasure. This truly was a true treasure. But Su Fang was stuck in a dilemma. With his previous experience, he didn't want to rashly enter again. Kid, why are you suddenly so scared? What are you afraid of? You've already been caught in an illusion, so don't think about anything else. Make sure your heart is clear. In truth, you have the best ability to break through illusions, and that's your hearing. It's easy to hallucinate what you see and hear, but with just your hearing, you can hear everything within the formation. A giant that had lived for over 10,000 years was truly different. Su Fang immediately used his perfect ability. Closing his eyes, he gradually heard some movement. The sound of breathing. The sound of luck. After about 300 meters, he saw a figure. That figure swayed along with the clouds. It was like a willow tree. From the looks of it, it was a female disciple. When he got closer, he saw that it really was a woman. She was also an expert of the misty Tao rite. Her cultivation base was at the longevity realm, but she had also been caught in an illusion. 7-colored soul-absorbing bell. 7-colored soul-absorbing bell is mine, mine, muttered the woman. Chapter 147. Rainbow Soul-Sucking Bell. This female cultivator from the Misty Tao rite was an outstanding beauty, but her eyes were lost, and she was struggling madly. It seemed she was being tormented by the illusion formation. With Green Feather King's warning, Su Fang wouldn't easily get close to her. Although he wanted to help, this was a special time. Saving someone was equivalent to killing someone. The Misty Tao rite was one of the strongest Tao rites in the Immortal Sealing sect. He continued forward, entering another formation. But he didn't expect to run into 2 more Tao rites. They were both in the longevity realm, and they might even be stronger than Sword Rider. Unfortunately, in front of a grade-level magic treasure, not to mention an immortal level, even an undying or imperishable powerhouse would be attacked by the illusion formation. Su Fang had experienced an illusion before. The illusion formation attacked a cultivator's weakest soul. No longevity expert would be able to come here. 7-colored treasure light. Finally, he arrived at the center of the formation. After restraining all kinds of illusions, he arrived in front of a 7-colored light. A fist-sized 7-colored bell was floating in the middle of the 7-colored light. It should be embedded with a special spirit stone or gem. Layers of Xian Guang intertwined with each other, making it seem like the bell didn't exist. Green Feather King introduced. It's a high-grade Dharma treasure, the Rainbow Soul-Sucking Bell. The Immortal Sealing sect has detailed records of all high-grade Dharma treasures. This king has heard of it before. It's an ordinary high-grade Dharma treasure, but it's an extremely useful one. Even undead experts can be controlled by it. Kid, you've struck gold this time. Since Senior said it's a good treasure, it naturally can't be bad. Su Fang prepared to take the Rainbow Soul-Sucking Bell. Green Feather King continued. The Immortal Sealing sect seems to place great importance on this 100-year trial. They might have other high-grade Dharma treasures. Kid, once you take the Rainbow Soul-Sucking Bell, this illusion formation will immediately disappear. You have to leave quickly. Otherwise, if others know you have it, it'll be difficult for you to leave alive. Buzz. After controlling his breathing, Su Fang didn't hesitate. He grabbed the Rainbow Soul-Sucking Bell, preparing to empty it. Whoosh! A human figure flew out of the illusion, seemingly out of control of the 7-colored soul-absorbing bell. A young man materialized from the shadows. He had long hair and was dressed in a white robe. I didn't expect someone to be one step ahead of me and come here to seize the rainbow soul-absorbing bell. When the young man appeared, Su Fang hurriedly put the 7-colored soul-absorbing bell into his empty bag. Then, he looked at the man's ornaments and token. It turned out that he was a disciple of the Heaven and Earth Dojo. At first glance, Su Fang could feel that the man was extraordinarily strong. He was not an ordinary immortal-level powerhouse either. He had an indescribable power. The man stood with his hands behind his back and smiled. Treasures can only be obtained by fate. I won't snatch the rainbow soul-absorbing bell. I'm a person who goes with the flow. If it's mine, no one can take it away from me. If it's not mine, it depends on whether I'm in a good mood. If I'm not in a good mood, I won't take it even if you give it to me. This person is truly interesting. You don't want a high-grade magic weapon? To be kidding, among the 7 great dojos, not to mention the Immortal Heaven, even the Immortal Heaven's undying realm powerhouses in the Immortal Heaven would not snatch the rainbow soul-absorbing bell. Su Fang was on guard. If the other party said one thing and did another, he would suffer a great loss. Someone is coming. I didn't expect to meet such an interesting person here when I came to see the glory of the Mortal Rankings Top 10 experts. The white-robed man smiled faintly. Like a friend, he took a step forward and disappeared from this space. Once the former left, the latter immediately flew away. However, before he could fly far, he heard many people flying in front of him. They seemed to have come to snatch the treasure. Su Fang had an idea. He immediately pretended to be dizzy and struggling in pain. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, 6 immortal-level disciples flew over. When they saw Su Fang, they did not find it strange. One of them sighed. A Heaven's Union Realm disciple really doesn't know what's good for him. He dares to come here. I heard that the rainbow soul-absorbing bell is in this formation. A disciple of the Ice Moon Dojo. If we rush over, we might have a chance to get the rainbow soul-absorbing bell. These experts treated Su Fang as someone who had barged into the formation and was controlled by the illusion. He had just woken up and was in a state worse than death. Once they left, Su Fang stepped on the cold frost sword and flew out of the formation. When he arrived at the profound cave, Su Fang finally let out a sigh of relief. Unexpected. When Su Fang found a safe place and was about to check the rainbow soul-absorbing bell, he heard the Green Feather King's sigh. This made Su Fang scratch his head. Why would a giant of a generation be like this? The Green Feather King said, in the past, this king was trapped in the Immortal Sealing Sect and constantly searched for their foundation. I heard that several desolate physiques have appeared in the Immortal Sealing Sect. In the future, several extremely powerful disciples will be born. At that time, the Immortal Sealing Sect will truly become the #1 power in the Crimson Firmament continent and unify the Crimson Firmament continent. Desolate physique. This was the first time Su Fang had heard this term. The physiques of the mortal world's cultivators are mostly called spiritual physiques or saint physique. The stronger the mortal, the desolate physique, originated from the ancient era of desolation. Those inconceivable geniuses possessed this physique. The desolate physique is also called the immortal physique. In the mortal world, how could there be a desolate physique? How could a mortal possess the power or aptitude of an immortal? Once a mortal possesses a desolate physique, that person will definitely ascend from a small world to a large world and become an immortal that surpasses mortals. However, the desolate physique is only a legend and only humans possess it. It is impossible for a desolate physique to appear in the fiend race or devil race. To the fiend race, any human with a desolate physique is a great enemy. Senior, could it be that the white-robed man from before possessed a desolate physique? It's that young human. His cultivation has reached the great circle of the immortality realm and is one step away from the undying realm. There are desolate physiques in the immortal sealing sect. There were 2 of them before. They are the treasures of the immortal sealing sect, and are also true geniuses. This king sensed their auras several times when they were cultivating in the depths of the immortal sealing sect. The desolate physique is too special. A mortal's body has the aura of a large world. As for that human, he should have just entered the immortal sealing sect not long ago and is currently cultivating diligently. I'm afraid that the immortal sealing sect has been secretly nurturing him. There is always someone stronger than you. There is always a mountain higher than you. Desolate physique, this was an existence that surpassed the immortal physique of the immortal sealing sect. It was also an existence that surpassed geniuses. That man was the true genius of the immortal sealing sect. Greenfeather King said, "There are many types of desolate physique. Different desolate physiques have different abilities and divine abilities. If you encounter such a person in the future, do not make an enemy out of them. They are destined to become immortals in the future." What a joke! If Su Fong could choose, he would rather never make an enemy out of such a peerless disciple. They were destined to be immortals. Even if they casually cultivated, their karmic luck would surpass any other cultivator. Even if they did not work hard, they would still become immortals in the future. After a moment of silence, he took out the rainbow soul-absorbing bell. He carefully examined it. It was indeed a peerless treasure. When used in conjunction with a formation, its effects were obvious. If he directly used it to attack, it would be an ordinary high-grade magic item. After resting for a few days, he began to search for treasures again. He had not been to most of the profound caverns, so no one knew how many treasures there were. It was a pity that the demons suppressing the treasures could not be burned or absorbed into the profound yellow caverns. If Su Fong could become a small commander, the overall strength of the profound yellow caverns would increase. In the following period of time, he only obtained some ordinary magic treasures and some divine abilities that he did not fancy. He did not obtain any special magic treasures. More than a month had passed, and half of the 100-year trial had passed. Su Fong was somewhat anxious. He wanted to use the remaining time to obtain more magic treasures. Whoosh! Su Fong seemed to have reached the bottom of the profound caverns. Just as he flew through the spiritual mist, he suddenly saw wind blades constantly sweeping out from below. He also saw a few longevity experts forcibly flying into the wind blade. Greenfeather King introduced, "Below is the profound cavern's eye." This king has sensed this place many times before. It is the core of the profound caverns. There should be quite a few treasures hidden below. The profound cavern's eye. It seemed the profound caverns were not without end. They were 30,000 meters deep, and there were countless formations and spaces that formed a complex underground space. After hesitating for a moment, Long Chun stared at the wind blades. If he wanted treasures, he would have to enter the profound cavern's eye. In the end, he decided to take a look. Even if he couldn't obtain any treasures, he still wanted to experience the profound cavern's eye. Dao Wuliang is also down there. A wind blade flashed past Su Fong. It felt like several of his hairs had been severed. Greenfeather King had told Su Fong that Dao Wuliang's aura was currently being released from the profound cavern's eye. It seemed it really was Dao Wuliang. That old fox feared nothing. With his methods, he had definitely obtained quite a few treasures this time. After brushing past a large number of wind blades, Long Chin entered a deeper space. The number of wind blades suddenly decreased, and a space with layers of restrictions as well as a large amount of gems, spirit stones, and an underground forest appeared in front of him. This was not an illusion, but a real forest. He could smell the fragrance of the forest. Only longevity experts could come here. The layers of wind blades made it so that ordinary longevity experts couldn't come here. Once he entered the forest, it was like there was only a forest. There were many precious spirit herbs and high-grade spirit stones. However, they were all in the form of spirit stones. It seemed the spirit stones had long since been taken by the disciples who had come here. This underground forest had also been split into many parts by the barrier. His perception was unable to sense the surrounding space, so he could only search for treasures one by one. However, the forest Su Fang had entered had long since run out of treasures. There were traces left behind by experts fighting everywhere. After entering several layers of space, the space he was in now had layers of formations. It seemed this place was not ordinary. After a while, he heard the sounds of battle. 2 more layers of the barrier, the sounds of battle were deafening. He also heard someone shout, "I heard that there are only a dozen high-grade enchanted items in this 100-year trial, as well as 3 divine images, Qian Huanyun, Xing Qiu, and Li Lingman. Only one of the 4 of us has obtained the divine image in this space. Let's see who can enter the depths of the formation." "Yan Qi, the divine image isn't mine, but it's also not yours," roared another man furiously. The sounds of battle once more rang out in front of him. "Qian Huanyun. What a coincidence!" Su Fang was surprised to encounter Qian Huanyun in this profound cave. Ever since the start of the trial, Su Fang had only met her for a brief moment. He had sensed that she was cold on the outside but warm on the inside. She wasn't as crafty as the other disciples. A divine image? That's incredible. I have to find a chance. Long Chen hid his aura and slowly entered the depths. Qi waves surged in this space, and there were several corpses of longevity disciples floating around. Their empty pouches had disappeared, leaving behind only their tokens. Not only had they died here, but they had also been robbed of all their belongings. An opening suddenly appeared in the mystic light formed by the battle of magical powers in front of them, tearing the array formation apart. While the man and woman were fighting, they continued to approach the inner part of the array formation. In another formation, Su Fang saw the masked Qian Huanyun and another man repeatedly exchange blows. They were evenly matched. Seizing this opportunity, Su Fang stealthily advanced. He flew past the 4 experts' astral qi and entered another formation. As soon as he entered, he saw 5 huge demons floating in the depths of the formation. Chapter 148. 5 Big Goblins. Before he could see them clearly, the 5 big goblins seemed to retreat. The space they were in transformed into a huge hole that looked like an eye. The sudden change in the formation made Su Fang feel even more threatened. He could see a few big goblins in the spinning space. They were waiting for the disciples to enter. "Those are monster corpses," shouted Green Feather King furiously. "These are monster corpses that were killed by the Immortal Sealing Gates expert. The weakest were in the immortal realm, while the majority were in the undying or undying realms. After being killed, the Immortal Sealing Gate dug out their innards and refined into monster corpses like puppets. The Immortal Sealing Gate controlled them and turned them into weapons. The monster race and humans had an unresolvable blood feud. From this demonic corpse, one could see the stance of the Celestial Sealing Sect towards the demonic beast. It was no wonder they wanted to suppress Green Feather King for 10,000 years. If Green Feather King hadn't escaped, wouldn't the Celestial Sealing Sect have killed him, drained his innards, and turned him into a demonic corpse? Green Feather King didn't have 10,000 reasons to destroy the Immortal Sealing Gate. These monster corpses are extremely powerful. They've been refined repeatedly by the Immortal Sealing Gates expert. They don't have any life. Be careful. Stepping on the cold frost sword, Su Fang was determined to enter and seize the divine image. Swoosh! He leaped in and entered the eye of the profound cavern. In an instant, countless wind blades swept out along with the spinning formation world. Clang! In the time it took for sparks to fly off a piece of flint, the frost sword was swung out. The sword chi scattered the wind blades that could not be dodged. Su Fang practically unleashed the most powerful peak strength at this time. Although he was Heavenly Union Realm Level 3, His strength reached peak heavenly union realm, about the same as powerhouses who had just stepped into longevity realm. Su Fang's spiritual energy was abundant. With the magical weapon in his hand and the profound magic ring secretly assisting him, he activated the magic power in his divine aperture. Su Fang struck out with sword rays invincible. Swoosh! Suddenly, a monster corpse attacked. It really didn't have any life. Its body was just a skeleton. It only had eyes but no eyeballs. Traces of blood and tears could be seen around its eyes. It seemed this big goblin had watched the immortal sealing gates experts cut open its stomach and take its innards before losing its life. Pung! The demonic corpse did not use any divine ability. Instead, it used the strength of its own body to raise its long arms. Like a bent tree branch, it suddenly rebounded towards Su Fang. The cold frost sword collided with the demonic corpse's long arm. As a result, Su Fang was forced to retreat several steps, causing him to lose the feeling of his arms. The big goblin's body was very strong. Great heavenly sword chi. The demonic corpse pounced again. Su Fang wasn't going to be polite this time. His divine aperture trembled, and his magic power circulated. His dark magic ring was also activated. When the big goblin attacked, a sword chi that seemed to be born in space was about a foot long. Like sword chi, it was fast and violent, wrapping the demonic corpse in the air. Chi, the grand heavenly sword chi, was indeed worthy of being one of the 7 great techniques of the immortal sealing gates, 7 great heavenly grotto heavens. It was so powerful that it tore apart the demon corpse's fur and sent its flesh and blood flying everywhere. Su Fang decisively passed by the demonic corpse and continued toward the eye of the storm. Swish, swish. Suddenly, a man and woman flew over from behind. The man was at the front. When he saw the grand heavenly sword chi trap the demonic corpse, and then he saw Su Fang, he was shocked. When did the Ice Moon Dojo have a disciple who can cultivate the grand heavenly sword chi to such a level? What a pity, he's just a heavenly union disciple. It's you. Qian Huanyun followed closely behind. She recognized Su Fang at a glance. With her cultivation base, she would definitely have some impression of him if she had only seen him once or if he was a disciple from the same dojo. This man from the Withered Wood Dojo was only 30 years old. He wore green robes and looked very heroic. He sneered, "You think a heavenly union disciple like you can obtain a divine image? Don't think you can obtain everything just because you have a good grasp of divine abilities. Without strength, without cultivation base, what are you? Hurry up and scram. Those who block my path won't even know how they died." Qian Huanyun cried out, "Yan Qi, you dare to kill him? With his potential, the sect will definitely focus on nurturing him. You'll definitely be punished for killing him." Yan Qi was actually worried. However, he then said, "It's fine if I don't kill him. I'll just shatter his cultivation base, shatter his meridians, or shatter his golden core so that he won't be able to cultivate. So what if he has potential? He'll still be trash. I don't think I've offended you." It was as if he had become a piece of meat waiting to be slaughtered. "Anyone who has designs on a divine image is my enemy." Yan Qi smiled coldly and gave a reason that didn't seem like a reason. Then the countless disciples participating in this trial were all Yan Qi's enemies. Qian Huanyun sped up. She clearly wanted to protect a disciple from the same dojo. Dodge. Swish. Swish. However, what Qian Huanyun didn't expect was that Su Fang actually activated his Daluo Sky Sword Chi, causing countless sword lights to explode around Yan Qi. Yan Qi would never have dreamed that a grand peerless genius like him would be ignored by a heavenly union disciple. "You're dead." Qian Huanyun was also stunned. Was this something a heavenly union disciple should do? He was undoubtedly seeking his own death. She couldn't understand what ability Su Fang had to fight with Yan Qi. Woo! Yan Qi used his Xianguang to scatter the Daluo Sky Sword Qi. Although the Daluo Sky Sword Qi was extraordinary, his realm was too high, so it was naturally easy for him to shatter it. He then sent out another ray of Sword Qi, wanting to cut Su Fang in half. What he didn't expect was that Su Fang actually spat out a large amount of smoke from his left palm. The smoke was highly toxic, and it turned into a poisonous smoke that collided with the Sword Qi. Although the Sword Qi almost split the smoke apart, the powerful poison of the smoke also corroded the Sword Qi's power, making it powerless. Yan Qi was shocked. His speed was suddenly affected. Qian Huanyun took advantage of this opportunity to finally catch up. She had also seen Su Fang's ability to control the smoke, but she didn't have time to be shocked. She immediately sent out a cold light to push Yan Qi away. Let's go. Qian Huanyun looked at Su Fang with a sharp gaze. She could take advantage of this opportunity to enter the depths of the profound cave eye. But if she left Su Fang behind, could she truly block Yan Qi? Su Fang used her frost sword to chase after Qian Huanyun. Qian Huanyun, you're carrying a burden. How can you obtain the divine image? Only then did Yan Qi struggle out of the profound cave eye. When he was in the air, he couldn't see Qian Huanyun and Su Fang. He clenched his teeth in anger. At this moment, a man and woman flew over from behind him. They should be the two experts from before. Swish. Yan Qi was extremely nervous. He immediately flew deeper into the cave. Yan Qi, weren't you arrogant? In the end, Qian Huanyun took the initiative. The man behind him laughed complacently as he chased after Yan Qi. Hua hua hua. After traveling a certain distance, over a dozen corpses charged over. Damn it! The corpses in front of him were blocking his path, while the experts behind him were chasing after him. Yan Qi was infuriated, and he used his enchanted treasure to block the corpses' attacks. Haha, Yan Qi, you're also anxious. But don't worry. The place where the divine image is suppressed should be the 1,000-layer formation. It's easy to enter, but difficult to leave. Even if Qian Huanyun obtained the treasure, we'll still have plenty of chances. The man and woman behind him chased after him. After saying that, they each charged at the corpses. At this moment, in the deeper layer of the formation, over a dozen corpses were chasing after Qian Huanyun and Su Fang. No matter how fast the two of them were, they couldn't shake off the corpses. Qian Huanyun wasn't nervous, but he was worried about the corpses. These corpses were refined specifically for the 1,000-layer formation. If we want to obtain the divine image, we'll have to destroy them. Su Fang's gaze was resolute. Senior apprentice sister, let's get the divine image first. Fine. Once we obtain the divine image, we'll fight the corpses. I wonder how many powerful corpses there are in the 1,000-layer formation. Qian Huanyun was surprised that Su Fang's train of thought was so clear. Her goal was to obtain the divine image. Whoosh! They didn't know what kind of formation they had entered, but suddenly, a corpse jumped out in front of them. It seemed that the two of them had charged out the instant they had touched the formation. They opened their mouths and spat out a large amount of flames at the two of them. Even without Qian Huanyun's help, Su Fang dodged in time. Qian Huanyun released a cold light and faced the corpse head-on. Su Fang finally saw the peerless power of an immortal-level expert. This is one of the 7 divine abilities, the Azure Sky Frost Mysterious Technique. This woman is on the human ranking list, and her cultivation should be at the last stage of the immortal level. After this 100-year trial, she'll definitely become an immortal-level existence. Let's go. Qian Huanyun used the Azure Sky Frost Mysterious Technique to freeze the corpses. This was one of the top 10 experts of the 7 great dojos. After entering another formation, Qian Huanyun began to release his aura and immediately locked onto the right side. He led Su Fang through layers of formations. Along the way, many corpses woke up. We can't get rid of these corpses. As long as we enter the 1,000-layer formation, They'll be able to find us and kill us. Then we can't leave. Then let's talk with strength and method. Without strength, only death awaits. Those who can come here are either at Immortality Realm Level 10, Immortality Realm Level 7, Level 8 or Level 9. They all want to have a fortuitous encounter and reach the Undying Realm as soon as possible so that they can go to Immortal Heaven to cultivate. Senior Sister, if you obtain the Divine Image, you'll also reach the Immortal Realm. Yes. Didn't you take the risk to come here for the Divine Image as well? Aren't you going to fight with me? What do I have to fight with you? I'm just a little smart. I don't have any cultivation base, I don't have any strength, and I can't even compare to Yen Qi in terms of looks. You're making it sound like you're useless. Qian Huanyun smiled. It was like ice had melted, turning her into the most beautiful ice flower in the world. After passing through for a while, Qian Huanyun immediately locked onto the center of the formation and brought Su Fang in. As expected, he saw a treasure box floating in the center of the formation. Around the treasure box there were dozens of corpses that had yet to awaken. It seemed that their auras were connected to the treasure box. Once the treasure box moved, the corpses would also awaken. Without hesitation, Qian Huanyun and Su Fang gradually approached the treasure box. Just a second before they were about to snatch the treasure box, Qian Huanyun looked at Su Fang and said, "There will soon be a large number of corpses surrounding us. Once you have the chance, leave this place." "Senior Sister, it won't be easy for you to leave, right?" asked Su Fang. "Of course it won't be easy, but I can endure until the end of the trial. Once it's over, the formation will naturally stop. If I have the chance, I'll leave." Buzz. After Su Fang nodded, Qian Huanyun finally grabbed the treasure box. She took out one of the talismans. It seemed that the Divine Image was sealed within the talisman. Once it had the Divine Image, it would be able to surpass most cultivators. This was Qian Huanyun's fortuitous opportunity. Woo woo woo. The corpses around the formation suddenly began to move. They didn't have any eyeballs, and even if they did, they would have already dried up. It was as if they had eyes, and they instantly locked onto the two of them. Do your best to stay behind. Don't carelessly attack. These corpses are even more powerful. Qian Huanyun put away the talisman and took out her frost sword, protecting Su Fang as they retreated. Chapter 149. Qi Qi. The frost sword was a peerless divine weapon in Qian Huanyun's hands. He waved the divine sword like a willow swaying in the wind. A terrifying sword aura burst out with the cold air of the jade sky cold mystic technique. The sword aura struck the beasts, either leaving sword marks or freezing them. However, the freezing time was not very long, only 3 breaths. After 3 breaths, some beasts broke through the ice layer and stepped on the ice shards. They directly spat out demonic wind or demonic fire, using their physical advantage to attack. Bang bang! Qian Huanyun displayed the strength of an expert. Not only was he strong, but he was also good at using magic power and spiritual power. He did not blindly fight the beasts head-on, but mainly blocked their attacks. The Jade Sky Cold Mystic technique was very useful. The cold air could freeze and block the beasts outside. It could also freeze the beasts. This technique was very suitable for women. Su Fang could not leave even if he wanted to. There were more and more beasts around them, and there were already more than 20 beasts. It was as if they were surrounded by a group of beasts. Su Fang and Qian Huanyun could not leave. 1 day, 2 days, a full 10 days. The two of them were still trapped in the formation and were attacked by the demonic beast. Qian Huanyun had been fighting with the demonic corpses all the time and was greatly affected. His movements, spiritual energy, and Dharma power were not as abundant as before. As I said, I'm afraid that you and I will have to stay here until the end of the trial. 1 month, there was still 1 month left in the trial. Qian Huanyun was only a longevity realm expert, not an undead or undead realm expert. At this moment, he was powerless and had to protect Su Fang. Su Fang suddenly smiled. "Senior sister, hold on for a few more days. I'm preparing to break through to Heaven Union Stage 4. After I break through, I will release the smoke and kill a way out." "It's good that you want to break through. I can still hold on for a while." She did not expect Su Fang to break through here. In fact, she did not expect Su Fang to help. However, she did not expect Su Fang to be able to control the smoke. She could not help but see a glimmer of hope. He sat cross-legged at the back and swallowed several longevity, realm pure origin pills. He absorbed the spiritual energy that was unique to this profound cave. It was as if he had turned on a faucet. Spiritual energy continuously poured into Su Fang's body. Performing the 100 acupoint finger technique, he forcefully stimulated the power of his fleshly body to attack his meridians, flesh, and divine apertures. The 100 acupoints finger technique had also become a cultivation method unique to Su Fang. It just so happened that it was aimed at those with perfect physical bodies, and it complemented each other. He was not too worried about the large number of corpses in the surroundings, as Qian Huanyun was not a cultivator from the other dojos. At the very least, he would not attack the disciples of the same dojos. Although the world of cultivators is full of schemes and schemes, some people still remain independent. Qian Huanyun was such an extraordinary woman. The first impression that Qian Huanyun gave others was that she must have a thorough understanding of the laws of this world, since she was able to reach the peak of the immortal level. However, she did not choose to live like most people and insisted on her own cultivation path. 2 days later, suddenly, a shocking force burst out from Su Fang's body. After this force burst out, Qian Huanyun was also affected. Why is his aura so shocking when he only broke through to the 4th level of the Heavenly Union realm? Qian Huanyun was shocked. At this time, a total of 4 layers of Su Fang's force appeared. He had successfully stepped into the 4th level of the Heavenly Union realm. In order to seize the time, Su Fang activated the 100 acupoints finger technique again and forcefully controlled the power of his fleshly body to attack his meridians, flesh, and divine apertures. Just as his overall strength was transforming, a stream of air suddenly came from near his dantian. The sound of friction and collision was heard. At this moment, he felt the 9 yang true qi in his dantian crazily rush into his meridians. Immediately checking, Su Fang laughed crazily. "It's done. The first yang meridian is finally formed. I didn't expect that I would succeed in forming the yang meridian by just breaking through to the 4th level of the Heavenly Union realm." This was an unexpected gain. Su Fang examined his meridians again. From inside to outside, they were filled with pure yang energy. Furthermore, Su Fang didn't need to condense the 9 yang true qi in his body. All of it automatically flowed into the yang meridian. The yang meridian was jade white in color, completely different from the other blood-colored meridians. It was connected to the dantian and connected to all of the meridians in his body. At this time, the 9 yang true qi in his body seemed to be centered around the yang meridian. It was like a world of energy that could breathe. Soon, the yang meridian was filled with energy. "This is great. My gold core, the spirit meridian in my right arm, and the yang meridian have formed 3 major worlds of energy." Su Fang felt like his entire body was on fire. He had finally succeeded in forming the yang meridian. At long last, he could officially cultivate the 9 yang 9 transformations. With this godly class energy art as the main energy art, all of his other divine abilities would be secondary. He has such strong pure yang energy. That means his fleshly body is extraordinary. Even Qian Huanyun could sense the difference in the yang meridian, and his eyes filled with curiosity and suspicion. Unfortunately, he still couldn't see through Su Fang's fleshly body. All he could do was draw on the jade heaven frigid profound art to keep the demon corpses at bay. Su Fang drew on the power of his profound magic ring and his divine aperture. At the same time, he consumed several pure vitality pills, as well as other spirit-type items. All of the spirit energy in the spell formation began to flow towards Su Fang. Qian Huanyun could sense the changes, and hurriedly tried to stop him. Your fleshly body is incredible. I've never seen a fleshly body like yours. Don't absorb any more power from the thousand-fold formation. If the central formation is weakened, Yan Qi, Xing Qiu, Li Lingman, and the others will have a much easier time getting here. Those three are all on the ranking list of young masters. They're the top 10 experts from the Immortal Heaven sect. The ranking list of young masters. So Yan Qi and the others were on the ranking list of young masters. Thinking of the ranking list of young masters, Su Fang's eyes narrowed. Senior sister, I'd like to ask you about someone. Zhao Wuji, who just appeared on the ranking list of young masters. What's his background? Qian Huanyun didn't ask why Su Fang was so concerned about Zhao Wuji. He continued, he joined the sect during the upheaval. I heard that he came back with some legendary experts and was recommended by those experts. I heard that he has something to do with Yuan Tianzong. Yuan Tianzong is a legend in the Celestial Sealing sect. He used to be the first on the heaven ranking. Now, his cultivation has reached the eternal realm and his name has spread across the Crimson Heaven continent. Even the other continents know his name. Zhao Wuji was chosen by Yuan Tianzong for some reason. Although he's cultivating in a temporary training ground, he's still an official disciple. Not long after he joined the sect, he challenged the 10th person on the mortal ranking and won. Now, he's a well-known figure among the Immortality Realm disciples. It must be the state of Zhao's Zhao Wuji, said Su Fang. But he was filled with questions. Zhao Wuji had only been in the Celestial Sealing sect for a few years. How had he managed to break through to the peak of the Immortality Realm? Could it be that he was already in the Immortality Realm? Had he reached the Immortality Realm after cultivating for 3,000 years in the state of Zhao? But that didn't explain it. When he fought Su Yaotian in the state of Zhao, let alone the Immortality Realm, even a peak Heavenly Unity Realm cultivator would have been able to kill Su Yaotian. Could it be that he had reached the Immortality Realm in just a few years? That was too shocking. Green Feather King continued, although I don't know much about Zhao Wuji, and I'm not interested in learning more about him, I still occasionally heard people say that this junior apprentice brother Zhao Wuji seems to have offered up a supreme treasure to the sect. That's why no one is willing to offend him. Offering a supreme treasure? Although it sounded groundless and unreal, it was very likely that this was the reason. Otherwise, how could he have been chosen by the Celestial Sealing sect? And although the state of Zhao's territory was insignificant, Su Fang could obtain the Xianhuang Six Paths Pagoda. Could it be that Zhao Wuji, who had lived for 3,000 years, couldn't obtain a supreme treasure? Thank you, senior apprentice sister. I'll activate the smoke now. After a while, Su Fang suddenly appeared beside Qian Huanyun. He activated the Flaming Cloud Spirit Gourd, and smoke that even Immortality Realm experts feared immediately came out of his palm. This smoke was highly toxic and would corrode matter. And demon corpses were material. When they came into contact with the smoke, they were corroded. Demon corpses were divine weapons, so they didn't feel pain or fear. They forcefully charged through the smoke. With Su Fang's strength, he was still unable to fight against these big goblin. Qian Huanyun didn't expect Su Fang to be able to fight against so many big goblin alone with his 4th stage Heaven Fusion Realm cultivation. If these were Immortality Realm experts, they wouldn't be able to do anything to Su Fang. Qian Huanyun activated the Jade Sky Cold Mysterious Art and began to cooperate with Su Fang. Su Fang controlled the smoke to block the demon corpses while Qian Huanyun attacked them directly. Soon, a demon corpse was destroyed. It was already a miracle that the two of them were able to remain unharmed in this array formation. Qian Huanyun. At this moment, a man barged into the center of the array formation. He looked a little miserable, and it wasn't Yan Qi. Qian Huanyun only knew that he was an expert from the Qingqing dojo. Qian Huanyun's expression tensed up. He could deal with the demon corpses because they didn't have thoughts, but that man was different. Xing Qiu, didn't you see that there are so many demon corpses? You still want to snatch the divine image? The divine image has already been taken by me. Xing Qiu was different from Yan Qi. He didn't look arrogant and was good at enduring. Qian Huanyun, you rarely make enemies with us. I didn't expect that you would make us look at you in a new light this time. The divine image still fell into your hands. After saying that, Xing Qiu turned and left. However, no one knew if he really left or if he was hiding outside, waiting for Qian Huanyun to come out so that he could snatch the divine image. The experts on the ranking list of young masters are all amazing. They can still come and go freely in this 1,000 layers array and surrounded by demon corpses. Su Fang remembered this expert named Xing Qiu. Everyone who reaches the peak of the immortality realm is very powerful. This is a difficult realm to cross. Once you cross it and become an undying realm expert, you're truly powerful. Qian Huanyun continued to activate the Jade Sky Cold Mysterious Art. He asked curiously, recently, I've often heard that an amazing Heaven Fusion Realm disciple has appeared in my Ice Moon dojo. The person they're talking about is you, right? Su Fang played dumb. I don't have that kind of ability. But I did think of someone. I met a white-robed man before. He came from the Heaven and Earth dojo, but he actually ignored the precious treasures. His cultivation base is unfathomable. I reckon he's even a bit stronger than you, senior apprentice sister. The Heaven and Earth dojo doesn't care about treasures. Qian Huanyun raised an eyebrow and suddenly thought of something. You're talking about Yun Fuxin? Yun Fuxin. He really is a heaven-sent genius. He's also a different person. Although he's at the peak of the immortality realm, his strength has already reached the undying realm. He's a powerful expert who transcends realms. He doesn't participate in the ranking list of young masters, nor does he participate in any other dispute. Very few people in the 7 Dao dojos know about him. But for us disciples, even if he doesn't participate in the ranking list of young masters, we can still sense his strength. Since he doesn't care about treasures, why did he come to the profound cave? There's no cultivator in the world who doesn't care about treasures. And for Yun Fuxin, it's very likely that he's a gentleman who loves money and obtains it in a proper way. A gentleman. Was there really such a person in the cultivation world? Chapter 150. Are you done yet? A few more days passed. Qian Huanyun and Su Fang worked together, but even Qian Huanyun seemed unable to withstand the attacks of dozens of demonic corpses. Su Fang felt that it was a good idea to continue waiting. Since they couldn't break out, they could just wait here. Perhaps experts like Yan Qi and Xing Qiu were waiting outside. However, to Qian Huanyun, if they continued waiting, it would mean that they wouldn't be able to obtain any other treasures in the mystic cave. Glazed cloud silk. Qian Huanyun still chose to fight for an opportunity. Suddenly, a ray of colorful light shot out from her right palm. It looked like a glazed ribbon. It wasn't a xianguang, but a Dharma artifact. It was a high-grade Dharma artifact, and its quality was similar to the 7-colored soul-absorbing bell. Break! Qian Huanyun gestured to Su Fang and activated the glazed cloud silk. This Dharma artifact was very magical. It looked like a colorful scarf. Suddenly, it rolled like water silk and formed a space. Qian Huanyun brought Su Fang into the space. The glazed cloud silk kept rolling forward, protecting the two of them as they gradually left the central formation. The demonic corpses were no longer controlled by the smoke, and they all pounced on them. This time, Qian Huanyun was very confident. The demonic corpse's various attacks couldn't even shake the glazed cloud silk. It seemed that this Dharma artifact was Qian Huanyun's strongest weapon. A high-grade Dharma artifact was very powerful, and the demonic corpses couldn't deal with it. However, even though the demonic corpses couldn't deal with the glazed cloud silk, they were still consuming Qian Huanyun's energy. Her forehead and neck were covered in cold sweat, and her breathing was getting faster and faster. Fortunately, after shaking off most of the demonic corpses, the glazed cloud silk's speed became faster and faster. It seemed that the two of them would be able to get rid of the demonic corpses soon. After entering another layer of the formation, the demonic corpses behind them chased after them. However, to their surprise, a huge golden claw grabbed at the glazed cloud silk from above. Heavenly Dragon Divine Claw. Qian Huanyun was furious. Yan Qi. Boom. The Heavenly Dragon Divine Claw was one of the 7 divine powers. It was cast by an expert at the peak of immortal level, and its power was unparalleled. The glazed cloud silk slowed down, and Qian Huanyun, who was controlling the Dharma treasure, had blood dripping from the corner of his mouth. Qian Huanyun was protected by a magic treasure, so he wasn't in any danger. However, he was still injured. Yan Qi, you're an expert on the human ranking list. How could you be so despicable? I've already taken the divine image, and you still want to take it from me? Yan Qi jumped out from the side and blocked his path. There are only 3 divine images in this 100-year trial, and there are 10 people on the mortal ranking list. It's destined that only 3 people will be able to obtain a divine image. I won't be able to obtain the other 2, so I naturally won't let you off. Qian Huanyun was at a loss for words. The other party was right. Anyone could snatch a magic treasure, so why couldn't Yan Qi snatch her spirit image? Yan Qi suddenly retreated and continued to use the Heavenly Dragon Divine Claw to prevent the glazed cloud silk from flying away. Haha, Qian Huanyun, and that damned brat behind you, even more corpses are coming. Let's see how long you can last. Whoosh. 30 corpses were chasing after them, and there were still a few corpses in the surroundings. Yan Qi actually planned to use them to deal with Qian Huanyun. Senior apprentice sister, I'll keep the corpses busy. You deal with Yan Qi. Su Fang suddenly took a step forward and waved her left hand. The remaining portion of the flame cloud spirit gourd's smoke instantly poured out of her palm. Only now did Qian Huanyun realize that she wasn't the only one who could protect the divine image. Only with Su Fang could she obtain the divine image. Careful! Qian Huanyun urged the glazed cloud silk to spin faster. Qian Huanyun suddenly rose into the air and sent out icy sword qi at Yan Qi. Yan Qi used the Heavenly Dragon Divine Claw to suppress the icy sword qi. He was in a much better state than Qian Huanyun. If this continued, it was very likely that he would seriously injure Qian Huanyun and snatch the divine image. As for killing Qian Huanyun, Yan Qi didn't dare. Both Su Fang and Qian Huanyun were in danger. Indecisiveness will only lead to chaos. In this kind of situation, how could the weak have the right to choose? Only geniuses like Yan Qi and Xing Qiu, peerless experts on the mortal ranking, had the right to make a choice and reverse the situation. But today, in front of these 2 experts, Su Fang had to make a choice that would benefit both him and Qian Huanyun. At least for Qian Huanyun, this choice was enough for her to hold onto the divine image. Qi. Su Fang controlled the smoke to form a defensive barrier. Su Fang controlled the smoke to fly in a different direction, allowing the corpses to surround him. But he insisted on drawing them away. Junior apprentice brother, come back. Qian Huanyun didn't know why Su Fang would do something so stupid. How could he handle so many corpses alone? If he left Qian Huanyun, Su Fang would definitely die. Senior apprentice sister, you have to deal with Yan Qi and take care of me at the same time. I don't want to be a burden to you. I'll leave first. Stubborn. Su Fang, who had refused an expert's blessing to repair his meridians, hadn't changed. Whatever he wanted to do, he would do it without hesitation. Today, he had to draw the corpses away by himself, so Qian Huanyan could use her full strength to fight Yan Qi. The two of them had the same cultivation base, so neither of them could do anything to the other. But if this dragged on, both Qian Huanyun and Su Fang would be in danger. Junior apprentice sister, I didn't expect you to be so captivating. That brat is willing to die for you. Yan Qi gnashed his teeth hatefully at Su Fang. Qian Huanyun took a few steps back. Don't shoot your mouth off. I don't even know his name, and he doesn't care about my beauty. We're fellow disciples, so how can you say that? It's not that senior apprentice brother wants to scold you, but what's so good about that brat? He doesn't have any talent, nor does he have any strength. Why don't you just find me as your Dao companion? Dao companion Yan Qi, don't you often go to the Immortal Twin sect? The female disciples there are all outstanding beauties. Don't insult me here. If I were that kind of woman, I'd have long since left the Immortal Sealing sect. Look at how quickly the Immortal Twin sect has developed these past few years. It's all because of men like you who voluntarily provide yang qi to those female cultivators. Since you insist on being my enemy, even if I can't deal with you today, you have to be careful in the future. If you end up in my hands, I'll definitely turn you into my cultivation tool. Shameless. Despicable. The Qian Huanyan cloud's frigid qi surged, and with the help of the jade heavenly cold profound art, the surrounding space began to freeze. Deep within the formation. We're almost out of smoke. Su Fang was being chased by the corpses, and the spiritual qi within the flame cloud's spirit gourd was growing thinner and thinner. If this continued, how was he supposed to fight the corpses? Even at this point, Su Fang still gritted his teeth and persevered. He flew out of the array formation. The smoke was constantly being dispersed by the demon corpses. There were several times when the smoke almost passed through and hit Su Fang's body. Brat, since there's no one around, use your green fiend true flame to burn these corpses. Once the true flame comes out, these corpses won't be a match for you. Green Fiend True Flame, the Flame Cloud Spirit Gourd's true power, was something even undying experts couldn't control. It was a true divine ability of the Immortal Sealing sect. Su Fang was excited. He also wanted to see how powerful the Green Fiend True Flame was, but he was worried there might be other cultivators nearby, so he did his best to use the last bit of smoke to get as far away as possible. After flying through several formations, Su Fang managed to shake off some of the corpses. However, more corpses sensed the disturbance and began to surround him. Within this 1,000-layered formation, once you lost your divine image, a large number of corpses would appear. It would be very difficult to escape. Xing Qiu and Yan Qi might have seemed relaxed, but they had taken a huge risk to come here and steal the divine image. Once they were trapped, not everyone could be like Qian Huanyun, who could resist a large number of corpses for a long time. I don't hear any breathing. Using his perfect hearing, Su Fang finally made up his mind to unleash the Green Fiend primordial fire in this formation just as the smoke was about to disappear. Flame Cloud Spirit Gourd. Su Fang sped up, leaving behind a final layer of smoke. A portion of the corpses chased after him. He turned, and a gourd appeared in his left hand. Just as the corpses were about to crush him, a burst of green flames shot out of the gourd. The green flames weren't shocking. They were like a green wind that blew past several corpses. Whoosh! A few demonic corpses that pounced over were instantly engulfed by the green fiery primordial fire. Their skin, fur, and bodies were all burned to ashes by the primordial fire. Such powerful corpses were existences that even longevity experts would have a headache over. However, in front of the Green Fiend True Flame, they were like paper. They were easily incinerated. Su Fang was dumbfounded. The green fiend Trueflame was 10,000 times stronger than the smoke. Suddenly, Green Feather King shouted, "Hurry up and leave! If someone recognizes the green fiend Trueflame, then the Immortal Sealing Gates experts will definitely find the secret to controlling it from you." Whoosh! If someone discovered it, then his appearance, identity, and treasures would no longer be a secret. He would most likely be killed. After flying through several formations, he continued toward a region where he could hear no one. In less than half an incense stick's worth of time, Su Fong finally flew out of this forest and arrived in the middle of the profound cave eye. When he looked around, he saw that each of these forests was actually an independent space. Furthermore, the formations were too powerful. The fighting inside couldn't be sensed from the outside. Qian Huanyan should be fine. Thinking of that, Su Fong calculated the time. There were less than 10 days left. It would be difficult for him to obtain any treasures in this amount of time. Furthermore, taking this risk for treasures wasn't worth it. It was stupid. He immediately flew toward the exit of the profound cave eye, dodging the wind blades. He had almost died to the wind blades, but he still hadn't completely left the profound cave eye. Swish! 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 Hiding in a cave, he had just dodged a wave of wind blades when several figures suddenly flew toward him. From the way they were dressed, they were all disciples of the same Tao sect. Myriad Tao Paradise. When the wind blades swept past, Su Fong was just about to fly out of the cave. The Myriad Tao Paradise's disciples also happened to be flying over. When they saw Su Fong, they directly ignored him. However, Su Fong's heart suddenly thumped, and his body stiffened. That was because he saw a young man in the middle. It was as if he had met a great enemy. Zhao Wuji. Zhao Wuji, the Zhao Empire's ancestral emperor, had once killed the family Su's ancestor. He had even stolen the family Su's peerless spirit vein. Furthermore, during the battle in the Zhao Empire, Su Fong had seen Zhao Wuji's puppet. He naturally knew what Zhao Wuji looked like. He had never imagined that he would brush past Zhao Wuji here. Although they were both disciples of the Celestial Sealing sect, they were just passers-by. Turning around, Zhao Wuji was surrounded by several longevity disciples. He was a newly promoted disciple, but he had received the approval of these disciples. He was like the emperor of the past who had unified the world. Xian Wang suddenly said, "Master, Zhao Wuji only has a tiny bit of violet qi law spirit aura." Impossible. Su Fong finally recovered. He had been blinded by hatred. Fortunately, Xian Wang still knew to sense whether or not Zhao Wuji had a treasure spirit vein. That was the violet qi law spirit. Chapter 151. Zhao Wuji? But why didn't he have a violet qi law spirit? Hadn't he killed Su Yunxian 3,000 years ago and obtained a portion of his violet qi law spirit? At this distance, Su Fong couldn't sense the aura of Zhao Wuji's magic treasure. But Xian Wang was different. He was a primordial spirit, a king-grade enchanted item. If he couldn't sense the violet qi law spirit, that meant the spirit vein was no longer in his body. But that didn't make sense. Xian Wang was very certain. Master, Zhao Wuji's body does have the aura of a spirit vein, but it's just a very small amount. The spirit vein isn't in his body. Then where did he take the spirit vein? Xian Wang is certain the spirit vein is in the Immortal Sealing sect. Did he give it to some powerful person? Really? Su Fong trembled. He thought of all the rumors about Zhao Wuji entering the Immortal Sealing sect, as well as how he had followed the Immortal Sealing sect from the state of Zhao to the Crimson Firmament continent. Suddenly, a thought appeared in his mind. Could it be that he gave the violet qi law spirit to the Immortal Sealing sect to become a disciple? The more he thought about it, the more uneasy he felt. If that really was the case, then once the violet qi law spirit fell into the hands of the upper echelons of the Immortal Sealing sect, how was he supposed to take it back? This king thinks the third portion of the spirit vein must be in the immortal sealing sect. King Greenfeather also spoke his thoughts. That Zhao Wuji is an immortal realm expert, and there's some kind of power left in his body. In other words, he'll be able to quickly break through to the undying realm. He might even be able to reach the undying realm. For the immortal sealing sect to place such importance on him and treat him as a peerless disciple with a desolate body, there's only one possibility. Zhao Wuji must have given a peerless treasure to the immortal sealing sect. That's the immortal sealing sect's reward. A magical treasure spirit vein is something that can only be chanced upon, not sought, especially in a minor world. This king has lived for more than 10,000 years, but he, True Fox Mother, and the Celestial Drill Rat Emperor have never seen a magical treasure spirit vein before. If a peerless expert from the immortal sealing sect obtains a spirit vein, they can cultivate a soul-bound magical treasure and increase the sect's overall strength. That's why Zhao Wuji has done a great service to the sect. When Su Fang heard that, he was infuriated. He even felt that he was incompetent. That damned Zhao Wuji. He gave my family Su's treasure to the immortal sealing sect. Not only did he give you a chance to cultivate in the immortal sealing sect, he even helped you become an expert. But how am I supposed to find that expert with a spirit vein? How am I supposed to take it back? Shouted King Greenfeather. Bring out your viciousness. Your enemy was chosen by the immortal sealing sect, so why don't you work hard? You'll also be groomed by the immortal sealing sect. You'll become a peerless expert, and then you'll have everything you want. Junior will do his best. Don't even think about eating my things for free. No matter how much you eat, you'll have to pay me back double. Since he had encountered Zhao Wuji, Su Fang took advantage of this chance to learn more about him. In any case, Zhao Wuji didn't know his identity. Taking advantage of this chance, Su Fang brushed past a wind blade and chased after it. He immediately caught up to several disciples from the myriad Dao Grotto. Zhao Wuji was among them. Not only were there disciples from the myriad Dao Grotto, but there were also several experts from other grotto heavens. They were all dodging wind blades. When Su Fang arrived, he didn't make a sound. He just waited on the side. With his fourth heavenly level cultivation, although he was just an ant, some people could tell that he wasn't a simple disciple. Suddenly, another expert took the initiative to introduce himself to Zhao Wuji. You must be Zhao Wuji. Junior apprentice brother Zhao, congratulations on obtaining a peerless treasure. Congratulations, congratulations. I was just lucky and had the help of many senior apprentice brothers. That's how I was able to obtain a treasure. With several myriad Dao Grotto experts on the side, a new disciple like Zhao Wuji openly admitted it. When he said that, Su Fang could see that quite a few people had different expressions. If there weren't several myriad Dao Grotto disciples here, perhaps there would have been people who would have attacked Zhao Wuji on the spot. At the end of the trial, it was still uncertain who would be the master of the treasure. There's a problem with that Ice Moon Daoist disciple. Some people's attention fell on Su Fang. As expected, quite a few longevity experts from other grotto heavens all looked at Su Fang. In an instant, they all understood why Su Fang had a problem. A heavenly level disciple was actually able to return safely from the profound cave eye. That explained everything. Junior apprentice brother, I'm also a disciple of the Ice Moon Daoist Hall, Song Chongsheng. Suddenly, a longevity expert walked over. Looking at his clothes, he was also a disciple of the Ice Moon Daoist Hall. But he wasn't under Yen Caifeng's control. Junior apprentice brother, which sect are you cultivating under? Song Chongsheng. It seemed that when the elders gave him his name, they had hoped that he would become a longevity expert. Now, he really had such result. Seeing quite a few people staring at him with strange gazes, Su Fang also felt that if there were experts from other grotto heavens here, they might be able to use him as a temporary protective talisman after getting to know each other. He bowed generously. Fang Yu greets Senior Apprentice Brother Song. I'm cultivating under Sect Master Yin. So it's Sect Master Yin. Song Chongxing came over warmly and transmitted his voice to Su Fang. Junior Apprentice Brother Fang, let's leave this place. I think these people want to harm you. Why? Su Fang replied. Song Chongxing kindly reminded him. Recently, I heard that a very capable heavenly-level disciple appeared in our grotto and obtained quite a few treasures. They suspect that it's you. Su Fang was about to speak when Green Feather King's disdainful laughter appeared in his mind. TCH, what do you mean by others wanting to harm you? You say you're a good person. Kid, this guy is actually more vicious than anyone else. He wants to harm you. Senior, thank you for your reminder. I also thought of this. This Song Chongxing publicly pretends to be a good person, but in reality, he has ulterior motives. Su Fang was no longer the insignificant person who cultivated in Tianmen province. After communicating with Green Feather King, he still replied to Song Chongxing. I'm not that person. However, Senior Apprentice Brother Song is willing to leave this place with me. I'm flattered. I'm leaving now. Song Chongxing frowned. Su Fang flew up with him. It was a little weaker, but it was still a terrifying space of wind blade. The swordsman is also an expert among the immortal level. He might be very familiar with this Song Chongxing. He secretly sized up Song Chongxing as if he was sizing up a piece of fat meat. This kid called Fang Yu might be the heavenly level disciple that everyone is talking about. Su Fang suddenly heard voices. It was not very loud, but he was a great perfection realm expert and could hear it clearly. He looked down and saw that there were actually many immortal-level experts who were risking their lives to follow them. Song Chongxing naturally also noticed this and urged Su Fang to hurry up. Clearly, he was getting more and more anxious. Whoosh 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 at this moment, a few more layers of wind blades swept past. Song Chongxing had no choice but to protect Su Fang behind him. He was worried that Su Fang would be swept into the wind blades and his treasure would also disappear. Bang! What Song Chongxing and the experts below did not expect was that a huge force exploded behind Song Chongxing, pushing Song Chongxing above a layer of wind blades that was not very shocking. Song Chongxing was not prepared and was hit by Su Fang from behind. His whole body was shaken and he lost his balance. He was extremely angry. You don't think that I don't know that you want to steal my treasure. Song Chongxing, you were the one who wanted to harm me first. I was also forced to do so. If you want to take revenge, I'll be waiting for you anytime. Under the attention of many people, Su Fangda shouted and ignored Song Chongxing. He immediately stepped on the frost sword and braved the great danger, flying up to the sky beside the wind blades. It must be this Fang Yu who made many immortal-level experts suffer great losses. He's the god of wealth. The 100-year trials would inevitably give birth to many new people, and Su Fang was one of them. The experts below were very surprised that Su Fang would attack Song Chongxing. Now, they were even more certain that Su Fang was the Heaven Fusion disciple that many people were talking about. They all chased after him. Chi. Above the wind blade layer, the pitiful Song Chongxing was struck by a wind blade. His left arm just happened to be facing a large wind blade. In the end, it was cut off by the wind blade. His left arm fell into the wind blade and was instantly turned into mush. Miserable. It was too horrible to look at. Song Chongxing fled in panic. Many wounds appeared on his body. Fortunately, it was just an ordinary wind blade. If it was a large storm, then he would have already been turned into meat paste. It seemed that Su Fang did not want to take his life. Su Fang had always been like this. But now, Song Chongxing was grimacing in hatred. It seemed that he, who had lost his left arm, would not forget today's humiliation. The mysterious cave eye was about to appear. Whoosh! Su Fong stepped on the cold frost sword. There were many wounds on his body. They were all cut open by the wind blade's aura. Fortunately, his body was protected by the flesh fetus divine armor. Otherwise, he would have been heavily injured. Looking below, there were quite a few longevity realm experts chasing after him. Their situation was much better. Some were wearing armor, some were releasing the power of magic treasures. Only a few were accidentally injured by the wind blade. Su Fong had no choice but to flee for his life. The people below had already treated him as prey. If he did not flee, then before the trial ended, he would most likely die. The death of a longevity realm genius was a big matter. But if a heaven fusion disciple died in the mysterious cave, then so be it. The sect might not care about it, but he had to cherish himself. Flying out of the mysterious cave eye, there were quite a few longevity realm and heaven fusion realm experts resting in the space above. It seemed that they were planning on entering the mysterious cave eye or leaving the mysterious cave eye. A heaven fusion disciple from the Ice Moon Dojo is actually being chased by so many longevity realm experts. Haha, who knows what that brat did to offend so many people? And our dojo's senior brothers. A heaven fusion disciple from the Ice Moon Dojo? Could that brat be the heaven fusion disciple that everyone is talking about? The one who obtained quite a few treasures. There were over 1,000 disciples resting here. They were the truly capable people participating in this trial. They felt that a group of longevity realm experts chasing after a heaven fusion realm disciple did not conform to common sense. Some people suddenly pointed out the reason why Su Fong was being chased. For a moment, many people's eyes lit up. Swish, swish, dozens of people directly flew towards Su Fong. That's a god of wealth. Even more disciples could not sit still. If there were longevity realm experts chasing after him, then a heaven fusion realm disciple would definitely have treasures that even longevity realm experts would care about. If one person thought so, then a group of people would think so. If one person chased, then another group would chase. In an instant, hundreds of people joined the chase. The remaining people were still hesitating. Some did not know the whole story. Are you guys not letting me live? Having just escaped from the mysterious cave eye, he did not expect that there would be hundreds of experts above him. It was like a huge net was falling down on him. Su Fong repeatedly complained. Ignoring the wounds on his body, he quickly flew towards the mysterious cave that was releasing a large number of wind blades. He could only use the mysterious cave's natural barrier to block the longevity realm expert. In his mind, the Green Feather King's figure appeared again. Brat, you have to hold on. There are still a few more days before the trial ends. When it ends, the rainbow soul-absorbing bell, the profound law ring, that jade pendant, and the large number of treasures you obtained will be yours. Chapter 152. The trial isn't over yet. He had never wished for time to fly by so quickly. He felt like every day was a year. Looking back, although he could not see anyone, with his perfect hearing, he could hear a few immortal-level powerhouses chasing after him. There were only a few days left until the end of the 100-year trial. During these days, Su Fong was constantly being chased. Swoosh! Passing through layers of mist, he entered another Xian cave. After a few breaths, more than 10 immortal-level powerhouses flew towards Su Fong from all directions. They surrounded Su Fong and forced him to retreat. Green Feather King was very impatient. He really didn't like the feeling of being chased. Kid, you have to think of a way to reverse the situation. If you keep running like this, you'll run into trouble sooner or later. Su Fong was also troubled. He immediately urged his intelligence. Away! Away! Green Feather King said, "This king has lived for nearly 20,000 years. He has encountered many powerful enemies and experienced many battles. But he doesn't always use his strength to resolve a situation. Most of the time, he uses his brain and various methods to maximize his advantages. He uses his strong points to counter the enemy's weak points. Got it. Suddenly, a light flashed in front of Su Fang's eyes. At this moment, he was trying his best to fly forward in the air. His left hand grabbed a streak of 7-colored mystic light. Rainbow soul-absorbing bell, could it be? Green Feather King seemed to know what Su Fang was doing. As Su Fang flew, he used his blood to fuse with the rainbow soul-absorbing bell. He did his best to fuse with it. At the same time, if he encountered something he didn't understand, he would ask Green Feather King for advice. After flying for an entire day, not only did he fuse with the rainbow soul-absorbing bell, but he could also use a portion of its power. At this time, Su Fang entered a Xian cave space. When he arrived, he found that the treasures here had already been taken by someone else. This formation space isn't bad. Hurry up and set up the formation, shouted Green Feather King. After passing through a few layers of space, he arrived at the center of the formation. He continuously formed hand seals, and through the spirit runes, he absorbed the energy and aura of the 7-colored soul-sucking bell to form runes. Rune talismans were a type of Tao. For example, teleportation talismans were a type of rune talismans. To master the rune talisman, one would need to cultivate and comprehend it for a lifetime. Once one became a rune talisman master, one would be omnipotent and could go anywhere. In just one day, he not only had to learn how to draw basic rune talismans, but he also had to learn how to set up simple formations. Fortunately, there was an old antique like Green Feather King, so he was able to grasp the basics of setting up formations and drawing talismans in one day. Buzz! Dozens of runes flew to the surrounding array and merged with the existing enchantment. As he made a hand seal, the runes in the enchantment began to disappear. Then, he injected a stream of spiritual energy into the 7-colored soul-absorbing bell. The bell buzzed and swayed, and a faint tinkling sound came from the bell. Aside from the strange sound of the 7-colored soul-absorbing bell, there were also some 7-colored Xian Guang that were attracted to this space. As for Su Fang, he was the only one who could see what was inside the 7-colored soul-absorbing bell. Within the 7-colored soul-absorbing bell space, there were a large number of formations. These formations were all illusions created by Supreme Expert. Once these illusions were activated, it was equivalent to the 7-colored soul-absorbing bell releasing the power of illusions. The strange thing was that when Su Fang controlled one of the illusions, he imagined it to be a forest. Inside the formation, a forest actually formed. Su Fang found it hard to believe. He thought it was an illusion. Then he tried activating another formation, imagining a lake. As a result, the illusion inside the formation turned into a lake without a shore. When he imagined there were schools of fish in the lake, there were schools of fish. When he imagined there were anglers in the surroundings, there were several white-haired old men fishing leisurely. Profound divine ability, and a high-grade magic weapon were too terrifying. No wonder the damaged Xianwang's 6 Paths Pagoda could suppress a big shot like the Green Feather King. In just a dozen breaths, Su Fang used the surrounding formation space to set up the formation. Although it was not perfect, it was not a problem for it to hold back immortal-level experts. Su Fang had been activating the 7-colored soul-absorbing bell all this time. Many of the restrictions and illusions inside were operating. Su Fang could see the soul-absorbing bell's aura constantly fusing into the barrier. The barrier was the defensive existence of this space. Whatever the barrier was, the space would bear the same power. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. That kid is in this formation space. I don't know which formation he's hiding in. Let's work together to capture Fang Yu and then split the treasures. Let's go take a look at the formation in front. We can't let the others find him first. The 3 immortal-level experts arrived outside the formation. After a short discussion, the 3 of them did not hesitate to enter the formation. This formation is different. There are so many storms. It's not simple. Could it be that this formation has not been discovered yet? There are still treasures sealed here. Then we're in luck. The three of them greedily avoided the storms and entered the forest from time to time. In fact, there were no storms or forests. In Su Fang's eyes, the three of them were sleepwalking. At first, he could still distinguish, but after a while, the three of them had lost all sense of judgment. Someone else came in. Controlling the seven-colored soul-absorbing bell, he used his perfect vision and hearing to control the entire central formation. He thought that only 3 disciples were trapped, but he heard the sound of wind breaking. This time there were only 2 disciples, but from other directions, 3 more disciples came in. There were a total of 5 immortal-level experts. In addition to the 3 from before, it was equivalent to 8 people entering the formation created by Su Fang. The first thing the immortal-level disciples thought when they entered was that there were treasures in the formation. How could they calm down? Their minds were filled with greed. It was easier for them to fall into the illusion and be controlled by the 7-colored soul-absorbing bell. Whoosh! Su Fang continued to activate the 7-colored soul-absorbing bell. Unfortunately, the 7-colored soul-absorbing bell did not have a primordial spirit. Otherwise, this magic treasure would be useless. As the illusion was activated by Su Fang, he could cooperate with the power of the illusion and silently go to any corner of the illusion. Disciples of Withered Dojo. He came to the front of the 3 immortal-level experts who were swaying. After confirming that the 3 of them were in the illusion, he immediately activated the 100 acupoints finger technique and sealed all their meridians, dantian, and divine apertures. Coupled with the power of the illusion, the 3 of them fell asleep immediately. They could not activate their spiritual power, magic power, or the spiritual power in their bodies. Coupled with being in the illusion, the 3 of them could not regain their consciousness unless someone came to wake them up. 3 empty bags. Su Fang's purpose was not to subdue the 3 of them. It was for their empty bags. Since the 3 of them wanted to deal with him, why should he let them go? He did not kill or injure them. He only wanted the treasures. After taking the 3 empty bags, Su Fang once again approached the other 5 experts. For the time being, he was not in the mood to check the empty bags. According to common sense, as an immortal-level expert of the Immortal Sealing sect, he would naturally have countless magical treasures. In the end, in a short while, the empty bags carried by the other 5 great disciples all became Su Fang's. Once the 8 disciples woke up and regained their consciousness, they would be angered to death by the thought of not only failing to seize the treasures, but also having all their treasures taken away. Su Fang did not seize the opportunity to seize their golden cores. He was already being merciful. If he had fallen into the hands of these experts, it would not have been as simple as seizing the treasures. He would have been killed to silence them. With the illusion formation here, I will cultivate here until the end of the trial. If I leave now, I will be chased day and night. Returning to the center of the formation, he sat down cross-legged next to the 7-colored soul-absorbing bell. He immediately absorbed the surrounding spiritual energy without affecting the operation of the environment. He first focused on the Yang Meridian. Once the Yang Meridian was formed, he would officially begin to cultivate a godly class energy art. The 9 Yang 9 transformations was a consummate godly class energy art. Although Su Fang wasn't sure of its true origin, the fact that it came from the primeval Chaos Sage was enough to prove that it was a consummate energy art. The 7 great divine abilities of the Immortal Sealing sect couldn't even compare. The Yang Meridian was filled with 9 Yang true energy. Most of the Yang energy Su Fang cultivated automatically flowed into the Yang Meridian, where it was stimulated by the first level of the 9 Yang 9 transformations. Instantly, the Yang Meridian began to churn like a boundless ocean. At the same time, Su Fang also felt the primordial chaos sage hum in his dantian from time to time due to his cultivation of the yang meridian. He attempted to absorb the primordial chaos sage into his yang meridian, but the primordial chaos sage seemed to be revived. When the yang energy within the yang meridian stirred, the primeval chaos sage began to rumble. I heard from elder brother that the heaven fusion disciple from the ice moon Taoist rite entered the formation. 2 more days passed, and the end of the 100-year trial was just around the corner. In the end, Su Fang heard voices again. Stopping his cultivation, he heard the sound of wind breaking, and a few more people were following him. Right now, many people are looking for that kid. We have to grab this last chance. Once the trial ends, we can't attack him again. Even if we find him, it'll be useless. This person is called Fang Yu. He's at the 4th level of heaven fusion. He looks very ordinary. He's not tall and looks extremely ordinary. Someone was describing Su Fang's situation. Su Fang sent his consciousness into the profound yellow space. Many thanks, Senior Pring King. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have been able to resolve this calamity. It also depends on who the opponent is. If it were someone else, even if this king taught him, it wouldn't be of any use. The Green Feather King praised. Even so, Su Fang still thanked him several times. Su Fang began to move once more. What are you doing? Hunting. No matter what kind of person you were, as long as you didn't have a desolate physique like Yun Fu Xin, even if you weren't bewitched, you would still be trapped in this illusion. He found 7 disciples. These 7 people came from different sects, but now they all had the same result. All their treasures had been plundered by Su Fang. Adding on the 8 empty bags he had obtained before, Su Fang now had 15 empty bags. He hadn't expected that the 100-year trial would make him so rich. The 7 of them were subdued by Su Fang in the same way. Then they began to wait again. As a result, no one else came in. There's still half a day left. I should leave this place first. Otherwise, once the trial ends and all the formations here disappear, these 15 people will wake up. They still don't know it's me. If they know, it'll be even more troublesome in the future. There was still half a day left before the trial ended. Su Fang grabbed the rainbow soul-absorbing bell and slowly absorbed it into his body. Then, while the illusion was slowly disappearing, Su Fang stepped on the frost sword and flew out of the array. I'm free. Half a day will pass in the blink of an eye. The instant he left the formation, he flew towards a large space. Whoosh! At this time, several figures suddenly appeared in front of him. These figures were unimaginably fast. They were peak longevity realm experts. Oh no, it's Yan Qi. Su Fang wanted to sneak past them, but when he looked carefully, he saw that one of them was a peerless expert from the withered tree Dao right, Yan Qi. Chapter 153. Yan Qi was one of the top 10 experts on the human list. His strength was undeniable. It seemed that he had not taken the divine image from Qian Huanyun's hands. He looks familiar. Yan Qi, who was among the experts from the Withered Wood Dojo, suddenly glanced at Su Fang, who was trying to get away with it. With his level of cultivation, as long as he had seen someone, he would never forget them. However, it seemed that he did not know Su Fang's identity. With some surprise, he and the other experts almost brushed past Su Fang. That was close. It seemed that Yan Qi did not notice him. How could a genius like him casually pay attention to other cultivators? Only a genius of the same level could attract his attention. Whoosh! He was waiting for them to walk away, and then he quickly left on his sword. Suddenly, an incomparably powerful gust of wind swept over from behind. This gust of wind seemed to have a suction force. It turned into a huge claw and sucked Su Fang back. Under such a sudden attack and astonishing strength, Su Fang did not have a chance to react. Bang! Su Fang, who was frantically retreating with the suction force of the claw, was suddenly hit by a huge force from behind. This huge force directly swept through his golden core. Flesh fetus divine armor. Su Fang knew that it was Yan Qi. Yan Qi already knew him, but pretended not to know him and had already launched a sneak attack on him. Unfortunately, the flesh fetus divine armor could not stop Yan Qi's strength, which was at the peak of the longevity realm. The huge force swept into his dantian and hit Su Fang's golden core, which he had cultivated with great difficulty. Xian Wang, don't. The aura of a magic treasure surged out of his right arm. The original spirit of Xian Wang's Six Paths Pagoda wanted to protect Su Fang. However, it was stopped by Su Fang. This was because once Xian Wang exploded, Green Feather King's aura would be instantly detected in the immortal sealing sect. Kacha, without Xuanhuang's protection, Green Feather King could not make a move. Su Fang heard the crisp sound of his jindan shattering, like an egg falling to the ground. Flesh fetus divine armor also couldn't stop his divine power. Yan Qi sighed in astonishment. Flesh fetus divine armor, it's the flesh fetus divine armor. You are a Heaven Union Realm expert, how can you condense the flesh fetus divine armor? However, your flesh fetus divine armor can at most withstand an expert at the 5th level of longevity life. I am at the peak of the 10th level of longevity life. Puff broken Jindan at the same time, Su Fang also spat out a lot of blood from the shock. He stopped retreating and swayed in the air powerlessly. His lower abdomen burst out with an astonishing amount of yang qi and pure spiritual power. An immortal-level powerhouse stared coldly at Su Fang, who was in pain and helplessness, and said, "Senior Brother Yen, how many pure yuan pills did this person consume?" His body is filled with yang qi. Even if there aren't 10,000, there should be at least 8,000. He must have obtained a large amount of pure yuanqi in the Xian cave. Yan Qi was also shocked by the yang energy. That person continued, "Rumor has it that this Fang you obtained quite a few treasures from immortal-level experts. As expected, it's true. It's a pity that the pure yuan pills were consumed by this trash." Yan Qi walks step by step towards Su Fang. "Stinking brat, your jindan is already broken. I already said that if you oppose me, only death awaits you. Right now, everyone is looking for you, treating you as their god of wealth. Do you really wish that the trial would end so that I wouldn't be able to kill you? But I just have to kill you at the last moment. I can only hide inside the flaming cloud spirit gourd and then activate it to escape into the depths of the Xian cave." He couldn't activate the Xian Wang Six Paths Pagoda. He originally wanted to protect himself, but he couldn't even protect his jindan. If he had known that this would be the outcome, he definitely wouldn't have just waited for death and used the Flaming Cloud Spirit Gourd. The Flaming Cloud Spirit Gourd was a shocking treasure. Once he entered its space and had the protection of the green fiendish true flame, even Yan Qi wouldn't be able to kill him. Ice Divine Image. A beautiful figure suddenly broke through the air. Ziz. A large amount of cold air came from the magic power of the Jade Sky Cold Mystic Technique. With Su Fang as the center, the surrounding space instantly turned into a world of ice. There was only cold air in this Xian cave, and it was already frozen. The most shocked person was Yan Qi. With his strength at the peak of the longevity realm, he was actually shackled by the cold air and almost turned into an iceman. The other longevity realm experts in the Withered Wood Dojo had already been frozen. A longevity realm expert at the peak of the longevity realm couldn't move under someone else's divine ability. The person who used the divine ability was definitely more powerful than Yan Qi. Yan Qi activated his energy and wanted to shatter the ice. His face was full of disbelief. "Qian Huanyun, you actually merged with the divine image in such a short time and stepped into the undying realm from the longevity realm. Senior Sister Yun. The flaming cloud spirit gourd almost flew out of his body. Who knew that the cold air would completely freeze this space? What kind of divine ability was this? It wasn't the longevity realm. It was the undying realm. Qian Huanyun. From Yan Qi's exclamation, he knew that she had merged with the divine image before she stepped into the undying realm. Breakthroughs were like this. Once a bottleneck was crossed, a breakthrough could be made at any time. Fang Yu, your golden core. A piece of ice and snow attacked. No matter what, Su Fang was only a heaven fusion stage cultivator, and his golden core was already shattered. He would be a cripple for the rest of his life. However, in front of so many fellow disciples and those experts outside the divine image space who were watching the show, his Dharma treasure actually benefited a heaven fusion stage disciple. This made him feel even more ashamed than killing him. It was undoubtedly a slap in the face. If you have a grudge, take revenge. If you have anything, come at me. Yan Qi, even if you don't look for me, I will look for you. I also know that you won't let me go. Your empty bags are in my hands. If you have the ability, come to Frozen Moon Cave Abode and take them. This matter had nothing to do with Qian Huanyun. Instead, it was she who saved his life. How could Su Fang let his benefactor bear this hatred? He was a man, so he had to take responsibility. Su Fang added fuel to the fire. You still think you're a genius on the mortal rankings? There are so many people watching, and you still want to attack a woman in the future? You're a man. If you really have the ability, then take back your empty bags from me. I know you don't have that ability. Otherwise, in this 100-year trial, you wouldn't have obtained a divine image, but senior apprentice sister obtained one and advanced to the undying realm. It looks like I owe him another favor. For Su Fang to say such words in this kind of situation, Qian Huanyun clearly understood that this weak man was trying to provoke Yan Qi into diverting his hatred away from her. All of the grudges were focused on Su Fang. Brother Yan, you're still an expert on the mortal rankings. It looks like the mortal rankings will be reshuffled in this 100-year trial. Congratulations to senior apprentice sister Qian Huanyun for reaching the undying realm and entering the high immortal heaven. Outside the divine image space, there were at least a few dozen strong cultivators. It was as if everyone was watching how Yan Qi was humiliated. Today, he had been defeated. He had been defeated by Su Fang and Qian Huanyun. Buzz. At this moment, every disciple's medallion buzzed intensely. Someone cried out, "The trial is over." In an instant, the formation around the divine image space disappeared. Qian Huanyun made a grabbing motion, and all the ice was sucked into his palm. He then released a Xian Guang that turned into a defensive barrier to protect Su Fang. Cough. Yan Qi and the others also regained their freedom. They were burning with anger and killing intent. Yan Qi was stopped by the other experts. The trial was over. If they fought now, it would be considered killing each other. The celestial sealing sect forbade them from killing each other, especially in front of so many people. Furthermore, those experts also knew that Yan Qi would only be humiliating himself if he went up. He would be suppressed by Qian Huanyun, who had advanced to the undying realm. Giving up, Yan Qi and a few other experts left in a hypocritical manner. There had been over 100 longevity realm experts from different sections. They were unhappy that such a good show had ended just like that. The spiritual fog in the Xian cave's space had completely dissipated. They could see the Xian sect's formation, and a large number of disciples were flying toward it. Qian Huanyun dragged Su Fang toward the Xian sect. Seeing Su Fang's disappointed and powerless appearance, he comforted, "Your golden core is broken. As long as you don't forcefully circulate your qi, you won't be injured. With your outstanding physical body, you still have at least 300 years of life." 300 years of life. Su Fang snorted disdainfully. He didn't let Qian Huanyun appear. He poured his consciousness into the profound yellow space. Senior Pring King, my golden core is broken. The Green Feather King interrupted. This king knows what you want to say, but I'm sorry. Your golden core is broken. Even this king can't do anything about it. Only the legendary immortals have the ability to reconstruct a golden body and graft a golden core. No other mortal can do this. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.